Let's do the damn thing.
Oh, you know what time it is. It's time to take it to the Birdland. It's about to go down. Hope y'all ready. Yeah, let's go. Come and roll with me to the Birdland. Friends got to giving you the word, man. Any other BS is absurd, man. Sports talk and they give it to you firsthand. They can talk Terps, they can talk O's. Yeah, they both lit. That's how it goes. Baltimore squad, Ravens and Poe. Better tune in. Here gonna show. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS. Birdland, Birdland, Birdland. BS.
It's all about that BS, peeps.
What's up, BSers? Flock Nation, Big Truss.
Full house tonight.
You guys in bed yet? You put the kids to bed early, calling it an early night after being up late at night? Or were you on the other side? Did you give up at halftime and go to bed early? And you got plenty of sleep.
True.
Nope. I watched it on my phone and then. See, I should have been doing the No, I did not go to sleep at halftime.
Someone else in this room might have.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Man, we got a lot to cover on tonight's show. Hopefully you guys are going to stay tuned in with us for the next couple of hours. It's a crazy night.
Even if we suck in the first half.
We'll get to there, man. At the end of the day, I said going into this game, I don't give a shit if we win by 1 point or if we win by 20 points.
A win is a goddamn win.
And somehow we figured out how to do it. But, man, crazy night. Now they go to work to prepare for a tough Chargers team on Sunday. We got a lot of questions to answer. What does this defense do? What is this running back room going to look like?
I was going to say, with the reports from Schefter, like, what is that going to be the situation?
Yep.
And I'll spare the two of you from having to talk about this now.
I appreciate you.
Terps lose big to another ranked team in Ohio State. They head to Minnesota to try to right the ship, but they're heading there with yet another top wide receiver going down. So interested to get both your takes on that.
Is it all doom and gloom, though? We'll talk a little bit about that. Ryan's got some interesting takes on that.
And in this week's rundown, we're talking emails, of course. We're just going to give you the quick rundown in case you didn't hear. The crazy finishes in NFL, MLB controversies, and some knockouts.
Finish him.
Yeah, we got a lot to cover on tonight's show. But before we do, ever been injured at work on an auto accident and weren't sure who to call? 855-MD-CRASH. The Maryland Personal Injury Attorneys that'll have your back. If you find yourself in that unfortunate situation just like I have, give our team at MD Cash a call right away. We all know the cost of medical bills, lost wages, pain and suffering. It all adds up and can potentially put you in a bad financial place. If you want a team that'll handle your case, big or small, and just give you some peace of mind, save this number now. 855-MD-CRASH. It's 855-632-7274. Be sure to follow them on Facebook for some fun giveaways, including tickets to some upcoming Ravens games. All right, man. I'm going to be stumbling all night through this. I didn't get in until 2:15 in the morning and then had to be up at 7 o'clock in the morning. My brain and body were not on the same page at the end of the night last night. My brain was on cloud nine and go, go, go. My body was like, go F yourself. Didn't know what to do. So even though I got in at 2:15, I'm pretty sure I don't think I went to bed or sleep until almost 4.
What I heard was the alcohol caught up with you.
That could be a part of it. That could definitely be a part of it. Went hard in the paint yesterday, but you know what? It was all worth it.
It was worth it. It was Monday night, under the lights. And I got to throw it to Ryan for a quick second because you were talking to us pre-show about an amazing, ride that you had leaving work.
Yeah, I talked about going to this game, but we ended up not doing it. I did drop by the tailgate to say hi to Fred because, why not? But I had to work till I get off at 8 o'clock. So I got off at 8 o'clock and I rolled out, and I'm only a couple blocks from the stadium. And I come down to the first light, and I'm like, kickoff's going to be soon. Like, I'm going to put the things on and see if I can hear anything. It was nothing. It was blank. You could hear a little rumble, whatever. And then I heard the Omar whistle there at the light, and I was like, oh, shit, that's really cool. And, of course, with their whole show, man, the lights flickering, and the first fireworks went off, and then the light turned green. And so now I'm on that ramp. Everyone that knows it's leaving MLK out of the city, it literally circles the stadium.
Right.
So you're like, So as the fireworks are going off and everything, I'm like literally like eye level with these fireworks. It was really amazing.
Why do I see Ryan trying to catch up if the fireworks were like going off boom, 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 boom?
Honestly,
he was trying to go with them.
I thought about just parking there and just watching it. Like, that's how cool this was. But it was just really cool. Like, I left work 10,000 times. We don't get a lot of night games at the Ravens, so it's not usually the case. So I got lucky this time, and it was really awesome.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That sounds cool. That sounds like a missed opportunity by the Ravens media crew. That's something that would be a cool video to take that
100%.
tour as it's going around. That would
Just
be
do
awesome.
a drone shot around it. That's all you got to do.
Right. Well, here we sit, man. Ravens win one that they probably shouldn't have won, but they did. Found a way to do it. 31-25 in overtime over the Colts. Now 4-1 on the year. Could very easily be 1-4. Could be 5-0. Could be 0-5, man. But here we are, 4-1 in a game that, like I said, at halftime, I really didn't think we were going to win, but somehow they were able to pull it out.
Speaking of halftime, before we actually get into the game itself, this is something that we've talked about this, and you mentioned it again pre-show, something that I think the Ravens get wrong. And in this situation, I think we really saw it, kind of take a turn. It didn't even get the national headline through the national media or anything like that. But Haloti Ngata honored in this game for the Ravens Ring of Honor at halftime.
Yeah, and they do this all the time with their Ring of Honor inductions. And I've always thought the Ravens kind of get this wrong. It's at halftime. It's 3/4 of your stadium is either pissing or getting a burger or, a glizzy, whatever they're doing at halftime, to satisfy their hunger or whatever, right?
Do other things and do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bathrooms might be a little busy as well.
Yeah, whatever they're doing. But, they do induct Haloti Ngata into the Ring of Honor. Haloti was a guy that wasn't real charismatic as far as the camera goes or being in front of a microphone.
He was a locker room guy.
He's more of a quieter guy, and you can see that kind of in his acceptance speech. They put on the purple jacket for him and all that. I heard that they didn't even really show anything on TV.
No, they didn't show anything.
Yeah.
No, the Gruden story broke that one.
They were so into Gruden.
Right. So they gave him his purple jacket. They brought him out, and he talked for maybe a minute and a half, thanking Baltimore and thanking his family and that kind of thing. And then that was the end of it. Yeah, it's just kind of lackluster for somebody who put 9 years of his career in here. He was drafted in I think 2006.
Yeah.
I eventually ended up getting traded to Detroit in 2014, which I thought was kind of a shitty move on the Ravens' part at that point because he still was a productive player. But, whatever. That's just what the Ravens do. 5-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champ. For me, what I guess stands out the most about his career, because, again, he was a defensive tackle. So if you look at his statistics don't jump off the charts as, oh, my God, because he's a defensive tackle.
No,
right?
but he was physical.
Right. But the two games that stand out to me the most, Big Ben's nose, right? We'll always remember that. Everybody will always remember that. And ending RG3's career, essentially, blowing his knee out, and then he was never right after that. But this is a guy that, man, they showed a montage of videos, right? And they showed his rookie year where he actually got an interception and he returned it. I think it was against the Bucks. He returned it back to the 10-yard line. And you get to really see the transformation of what Haloti became into, because what he started as was this 340, 350 pound prototypical big guy defensive tackle, run stuffer. You didn't really think of him much as a pass rush threat. But over his career, man, he really slimmed his body down, going from that 340, 350 big lower half kind of guy to a more athletic, he's still great against the run, but was a pass rush specialist through the middle. And that's kind of how he built his career here in Baltimore. Just a guy that, again, flew under the radar to most because, again, he wasn't a very outgoing, outspoken person, so you never really heard too much from him.
And a lot of that, some people attribute to, him losing both of his parents before he's even drafted. So just, taking on all that at one time and have his family's name up there forever. You kind of pointed that out. That's special for him.
Yeah. But he did say, candidly, not in his acceptance speech, but he did say in an interview, he does not miss football at all. He doesn't miss the daily grind of it. He doesn't miss the practice of it. He doesn't miss being away from his family. He doesn't miss the game at all. Because I'll be honest with you, he still looks like he could suit up and play, just the way in the shape that he keeps himself in. He can play a couple
as we've learned, football takes a toll on a lot of these guys' bodies internally.
It does.
So
It does.
It definitely is there. So
Well, I can tell you this. this season is taking its toll on my body. That's the whole hence of this Cardiac Kids title, man. I don't know how much more at almost 40 years old this heart can take. I mean, to come down.
Do I need to sneak you some of my wife's blood pressure medicine?
I'm going to need some blood pressure medicine. I'm going to need something. And you got the overtime loss in Vegas to kick it off, that went all the way down to the wire. The last second win against Kansas City. The 66-yard record field goal by Tucker against Detroit.
at the buzzer, so to speak.
Right.
Somehow I forgot about that one.
And then the only game you really could breathe was last week against the Broncos, right? And then a 19-point comeback last night in a game that, again, I think most fans, from my perspective, sitting in the upper deck, right, fans left in waves. And it was every time that once they got to, I think it was like a 22-3 at one point, that was like the first wave of fans that left, like right after halftime. They came out and rushed the ball right down the field when they got the ball and scored that touchdown. And then the second wave of fans left. Man, it was sad to see so many fans give up on this team early, but man, like a light switch, the play calling changed, the offensive attack changed, and it changed the entire game.
First time I've heard players giving Greg Roman a lot of credit for adjusting the scheming. He's like, I think they were talking to Hollywood post game, and they said, what was different in that second half, and he basically said, look, they came out with a different look, and it's a credit to them. They came out with a look that we hadn't seen, we didn't prepare for, and they stopped us.
Right.
And what did we do? Roman made some adjustments, and it worked, right? To the point that you knew the second that we got that ball, and even they knew, except for Calais Campbell. He was the only one that said, I didn't know. He's like, I know that we can do good, but anything can happen.
Right.
But they were all kind of saying, like, we knew this was our shot. We had the momentum on our side. And I think, Calais, to Calais' defense, he's looking at what happened earlier in the game where they drive down the field and they literally get to the 1 yard line, and then it's returned back.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, before we even get there, before we start getting to the comeback and how that all materialized in the last quarter and 2 minutes of that game, because that's essentially what it was.
Yeah.
The last fourth quarter and the last 2 minutes of the third. It was probably the most vanilla offense I had seen out of this team all year. I mean, and to go from what they did against the Broncos and in the previous couple games in the passing game to come out and just, again, I don't know if it had something to do with the rushing record, and that was in Roman's mind is, hey, let's get this out of the way early so that we can move on with the game plan and try to get that 100 yards early, and it just wasn't happening. They weren't able to run the football at all.
But that's the crazy part is they went 3 and out, and in those first 2 series, there were 6 pass attempts.
Yeah.
That's not trying to go after the rushing record.
No, it's true. But they weren't able to even move the chains. Like, they weren't taking any shots downfield. That was like, one of the things that we've been praising about Lamar was his ability, his yards per attempt, right? Throwing the ball downfield. Those first 3 quarters, we barely saw any passes beyond 10 yards in this game.
Yeah, it definitely was rough in that first half. He was looking there was 1 or 2 where he was looking for the guy that wasn't open. Hollywood throughout this game, except in the fourth quarter, on multiple occasions was open, even early, and Lamar was looking him off or wasn't even looking his way. I don't know if that was by design, what it was, but Lamar's vision at the beginning of the game, I think, if I'm giving flack in this game, it's the vision in that first quarter. He was hesitant to run when he had the open lane in front of him, but credit to Indy, because they showed it and they talked about it on TV, was the fact that Indy was they were rushing and creating the collapsing pocket, and they were doubling back and retracing their steps to close the pocket back down when he was trying to escape out. Right. So many times that's what we saw. Some of it was him tripping over his own feet, but other times they were they're close enough. They just got a hand on his legs, and that's all it took to bring him down.
Yeah, I mean, it was a very telling first couple quarters, first couple of drives in this game. Like I said, the Colts were having absolutely no problem marching down the field on our defense. Probably one of the worst defensive standings that I've seen our team put together. So I say, yes, the Ravens end up winning this game, but there's still a lot of questions, a lot of problems that they need to fix moving forward, especially with some of these teams we got coming up.
Well, and what was crazy was they were trying to be patient in those, especially those first 2 drives, but it just, at the same time, they couldn't get any movement. I mean, they had 5 yards in both the first 2 drives, taking a minute 38 and a minute 40.
Right.
that's the worst thing you can do and put your defense in that situation. They've already gone out. They had that situation where it's a 76-yard run by Taylor, very deflating for that defense.
Yep.
He got loose some bad angles. Averett taking it was Chuck Clark taking a bad angle, running into Jimmy Smith, opening up the hole, which gets that run. It really was deflating for these guys. So from an offensive standpoint, to come out and not do anything for your team, and even the third drive was only 5 plays, 3 minutes there, so a little bit better. But 26 yards, you're not able to charge downfield because you're trying too hard to get the big ball.
James, what did you guys see in the early starts of this game? Were you surprised with the play calling, or were you surprised more with the execution of the play calling?
I was a little disappointed. Like you said, Lamar was missing the open guys.
Right.
I don't know if he was shook, if the speed of the linemen were getting to him, but he looked like like he was a rookie out there in the first quarter. But the second half, he looked good. So I give it credit to Romans if it was changing it up, and I like the no huddle. I thought that worked well.
They definitely
pace.
play better with the up tempo. I like that as well.
And I'm glad they adjusted that instead of just like, oh, we'll just keep on going back to the same thing and run it. They adjusted. I liked it.
Right. Drew?
Yeah, it was like he said. It almost just like it was like rookie year, or that just like the yips in his head already. Not on him. Like
I didn't see that.
Well,
I didn't see yips. I didn't see
hesitancy,
bad
not
errant throws.
Hips, more not okay. Maybe that isn't a good, but it just looked like he came out flat.
On TV, he was looking like
So,
double pumped.
it was a lot of
He was
little
getting
bit
caught from behind a lot.
Yeah. So that was my thing in this game, was that early on in this game, I thought he was overthinking, over questioning things too much, because he only had 7 incompletions in this entire game, right? He was 37 of 43.
We'll get to that
6.
best completion percentage, but we'll get into that later.
So it wasn't like he was making bad throws or anything. It was just there were some reads and some things that he wasn't taking, both through the air and on the ground.
That's why I said his vision just in those first, especially in those first few drives, really the first quarter, it upwards into that major drive they made in the second quarter. That's kind of where you started to see a little bit of a shift in him committing a little bit more. But just the vision downfield, the vision of looking to see what the defense was doing. I think he maybe did see it, just didn't know what to do about it. Making sure that he wasn't running to disguise it. But you got to recognize, man, you have a talent that a lot of people in the world wish they could have.
Right.
And that's the ability that once you're on the run, you can make people miss.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're hesitating, your hesitation gives them a moment to capitalize.
Right.
And that's what, to the Colts' credit, that's what their defense was able to do in those first several drives against the Ravens.
Well, again, I mean, for us defensively, though, this was a complete struggle from start to finish. You give up 402 yards through the air to Carson Wentz. That's a problem. You give up, over 160 total yards to Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield. That's a problem. Everything was working through Taylor. It was either the dump-off passes to him that all went for big yardage, or, even some of the misdirection handoffs that ended up working for them. Marlon Mack was another one that had, a couple of opportunities, but maximized on those.
It's crazy, and they talked about this during the game. The fact that this is a guy that just last week was wanting a trade out of Indy.
Right.
Oh, they're trying to show him off.
Yeah,
It's one of those
exactly.
classic things where you get a guy
But
more
even
work
when
than
he
he's
was
ever
getting,
seen.
even when he's getting touches before that, he wasn't being effective with the touches he was getting.
Yeah.
So maybe they went to him and said, "You show that you can do it, and we'll consider something down the road."
Right.
But he shows up, shows out, whatever it may have been. I just thought that was interesting because they talked about that, is the fact that he was looking for that. He wasn't effective throughout the first portion of the season, and all of a sudden, this game, he was seeing the holes, he was finding the gaps, and really gashing the Ravens at times.
He looked like
Yeah.
he was playing peewee football. Like none of the Ravens could tackle for shit.
And that's it.
Up high tackles. You can't do that in the NFL.
Right.
You gotta take the legs out, man.
It did not look any better this week. Poor angles, poor tackling. And I'm sitting in the upper deck, and it looked to me like I could see Marlon Humphrey getting in some of these guys' faces because he was getting frustrated with some of the poor tackling in this game.
Yeah.
Which that's another issue. If that starts bleeding down and guys start getting frustrated, now they're playing a little out of their element.
Yeah, he had some bad tackling too.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Expect to see him on the injury report. When he hit Mo Alley Cox, he was done.
I
He
think
played
he's
with
had
adrenaline
little
and
nagging
adrenaline
injuries.
only from
Right.
that point on.
Right. But I mean, really, the only players on the defensive side of the ball for me that stood out or played good. Calais Campbell had another great game in this game. He is the solid vet that kind of, and then Odafe Owe with another sack, another fumble, a forced fumble. Then Brandon Williams recovered it. This kid, I mean, he's playing another level. There's only 3 defenders in the NFL right now with 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 1 fumble recovery in 2021. Owe, Chandler Jones, and TJ Watt.
That's a nice list to be on.
Good company.
That's pretty damn good company, right?
But I'll tell you, another guy that stood out for me in this game almost went from hero to zero.
Yeah.
Tavon Young in this game, and I get it, right? The situation. He played good. He was making good tackles. He was I think he had 3 or 4 tackles for losses in this game, where he schemed well in this game. But the stupidity of the personal foul and the retaliation. Jack Doyle, at first you saw the shove, right?
Yeah.
You saw the shove from Tavon to him. You saw Jack Doyle go down. When you go back and you watch what they showed before it, smashed his head into the ground. Jack Doyle gets nothing. And they talked about it. The second guy is always the guy to get in trouble, right? Now, granted, the ref was right there. The ref should have seen it, because as they zoom out from the whole situation, the lead ref is in the backfield looking that way. You can't tell me you didn't see Jack Doyle shove his head down. Right. So I expect a fine from the NFL for that situation. But at the same time, you can't be stupid. You know what's on the line. You got to know what's on the line for your team.
You got to play smarter.
Made a big stop.
You got to be more disciplined there. But I did see that, because they showed the replay there in the stadium, and you did see Doyle.
You heard the fans booing.
Oh, yeah. You saw him shove his face into the dirt. So my question was, I wanted to see what you guys thought of that, were you upset with Tavon Young and the fact that he reacted the way he did in that situation?
I'm upset with Tavon. I'm upset with the situation with the refs not calling it, especially when they zoom out and you see the ref. That was what really got me, because they did that. But look, Tavon, man, I get it. It's frustrating. Your team just made a huge stop. If not for that, you could be if you do that and you wind up costing us the game, you're the 0 at this point. Yeah, you're the one that cost us the game. So that's the situation that I have here.
We're just lucky they don't have a Tucker on their team, because that game could have been over.
Could have been over twice.
Right. Well, let's go down this miracle road of this comeback, right? Because it was, again, down 22-3 with 3 minutes to go. That's how late this is in this game. 22-3, 3 minutes to go in the third quarter. Like I said, a couple of waves of people have already left at this point in the stadium. But this is where everything changed. And it started, in my opinion, they had to score before the end of the third quarter if they stood a chance in hell in trying to come back in this game. They had to. And immediately, as soon as I had that thought, they take a deep shot down the field to Hollywood Brown, who probably made one of his best double moves that I've ever seen. They showed the replay on play. I mean, he faked this guy out of his shoes for the touchdown. But I will say, I had a little PTSD when that ball was in the air. I was like, oh, God, please don't drop this. Please don't drop it. And he caught it for the touchdown. Still didn't feel good, though, because they come out for 2 at that point and don't convert.
Right.
So now they're down 22-9, and I'm thinking, the entire time this is going on, right?
Math.
I'm doing the math the entire way, and I'm like, all right, now they need 2 touchdowns and 2 two-point conversions. Yeah, it's very slow. Very slow. But then, right after that, the crowd's starting to get a little bit more energy to them. What happens? Colts drive right the fuck back down the field. Blankenship comes out, kicks a 43-yarder, and I'm like, that's it. That's a wrap. 16 points. Now they're definitely going to need 2 two-point conversions to even get into this game and tie it. Then they turn to Mark Andrews. And, Mark Andrews, I didn't realize going into this game, but apparently he had lost his grandmother going into this game. And I kind of noticed there were a couple times where on the sidelines you could see him by himself taking a knee and praying and whatnot. And I had never noticed that about him, like pregame. So I knew something was going on, but I didn't know what the story was until after the game, and I heard about that. But, man, he had a huge, huge game. And in this drive alone, the one-handed catch, I don't know if you guys saw it on TV, but in person, it was amazing. He caught this thing one-handed and got walloped.
Yeah, he did. Right afterwards.
I was speechless. I was unbelievable, because I'm like, he's going to try. Oh, never mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
To hang on to that catch.
In this situation, there's overall with this drive that we're breaking down, there were 2 things that stood out to me.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Mark Andrews showed up under the spotlight when we've been asking for this from him for a long time.
In a big moment.
Big moment, big situation. It comes out. The other thing, And it makes me start to wonder, is Hollywood listening to the show? Because remember before he did the whole, it's not coming off. They got the tack, right? Well, what does he do in this game? The other thing that we've been criticizing him for, Hollywood was physical when he got the ball in yards after the catch.
Yeah.
He was going down, taking the hit, and powering through with his legs for an extra 2-3 yards at times.
Yeah.
So great on both these guys, and those are two things that really stood out in this situation.
He actually gave a stiff arm, too.
Right.
Yeah.
But this drive alone was the Andrews drive, man. 'Cause again, he gets that one-handed catch. Then he comes up with the 5-yard touchdown catch, first of the season, his first touchdown of the season, which I was kind of surprised. Not, thinking back, I'm like, damn, didn't he have another touchdown? He did, but it ended up getting called
Yeah, the
back.
first few weeks were pretty quiet.
Yeah, pretty quiet start to the season. But again, shows up in a big way, and then in the flat for the first 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
So now we're down 8. Colts come back out. What happens? Jonathan Taylor gashes the D with a dump off out of the backfield for a couple of nice runs. Then, as we're getting ready to eliminate and stop this drive, Justin Houston gets
Comes
hit
up
with
with
the
a sack.
penalty, comes up with a sack, but pulls him down by the horse collar. And I tell you, the stadium erupted until they saw the replay, and they're like, oh, okay, that was horse collar.
It sucks because that's the hard part is if you're going after a guy in his hand just caught it.
Yeah.
And I get it.
The problem is,
It's
as soon
hard.
as you, regardless if it was intentional or if it was weight from him falling down,
Yeah.
the minute you see the shoulder
Oh, yeah,
pads
it's-
sag a little bit, that's a horse
And
collar.
if you let
Yeah.
the quarterback go, he throws an incomplete pass away, and you don't get the sack.
or he throws a touchdown.
But he drug him to the ground, and that's the problem with it there. So.
Yeah.
But Calais Campbell comes up big as they drive down the field. They get into field goal range, 37 yards. I'm like, this is it. This is the nail in the coffin here.
Calais got skinny, man. And did you hear the story about that,
Broderick?
right? Broderick Washington, apparently they have 6 different looks. If you didn't hear about this, they have 6 different looks that they try to do when they're trying to block a kick. And in this one, there was a special situation where Broderick was in formation in a position that he normally doesn't play.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, throughout the week, Broderick was saying, look, I think we're going to get it with this week. We can fool them with this look. We're going to be able to get it. I'll get the space. You go in and get it. And they make the call, and Broderick is actually the one to make the call for this play.
Yep.
And it works.
Yep.
Calais is able to get skinny through the line as Broderick is able to kind of almost take 2 men at once and really fight him off to give him that ability and ultimately blocking it, getting those big bear paws up there, blocking it down, and then the recovery by the Ravens. It was exactly what you wanted.
It was unreal. Again, the stadium, at this point, the electricity just keeps building and building and building, right? Because every time the Colts get the ball, they're driving right down the field. You're thinking, well, all that was for nothing. And then something happens. Boom, we get a blocked field goal. Okay, we still have life.
Defense stepping in. Yeah.
We get the ball back. 4 minutes left now, down 25-17. Freeman catches a couple of balls out of the backfield, so he's getting involved in the pass catching. Hollywood, this was more of Hollywood's drive here, where he's catching and, like you said, actually turning upfield, going towards contact, getting those extra yards.
2 separate times.
Yeah.
The ball was thrown to the outside where he could have gotten out. He turned back in, to the infield or the inside on purpose to go after and try to get those extra yards.
Yep, and then again, PTSD strikes again as Lamar scrambles, gets down to the goal line, and what happens? Boom, ball comes out. Heart attack, stadium goes quiet until they show the replay.
Knee was down.
Knee was down, thank God. Andrews catches his second touchdown now
On the
to
goal
pull
line.
within 2. So here we are.
We need this.
We need this 2-point conversion. What are we going to do? Who are we going to go to?
Mark Andrews.
Give it back to the big guy. Go back to the Andrews. He gets the 2-point conversion to tie the game. Now, you can debate who won this game. We can all sit here and say, oh, Lamar won us this game. Single-handedly, Lamar won us this game. You know who the real winner of this game was?
The fans.
Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker goes out there for the coin toss and wins the coin toss and gets the ball back. Lamar Jackson says, game over. It's over. Justin Tucker on a coin toss without a kick wins this game.
Well, he didn't
My
call-
opinion.
It was
he
trolling.
Didn't call it.
He called it.
No,
he was
yeah.
out there.
He was out.
He was out there for it.
Yeah, 100% it was trolling. It was, your kicker sucks. I want to put the best kicker in the league out here to show you. We could have picked anybody else to go out there. He's like, hey, Justin, you haven't done anything today,
I think-
so go out there.
I think Wentz, when he went out there with the kicker, he's like, I can't call tails. Heads is more like you own it. You know what I mean?
But Tucker's reaction was, "Oh, we want the ball." like it was. It's not a
he looked
choice.
at the ref
we have
like, did you
Lamar,
really
right?
need to ask that question?
Oh, we want the ball.
But I got to ask you, for those that stayed up and actually watched it, going into overtime, Ravens get the ball back. After what you had watched for the last couple of drives, did you have short-term memory and you were confident getting that ball back that they were going to be able to score and win this game?
One word came to mind: momentum.
Yeah.
We had momentum on our side. You look at what, the defense after that one drive in the third quarter that they wound up getting the touchdown, right, early in the third. After that, the defense pretty much shut them down, right? And we were able to continue. They had one field goal. That was it. After that touchdown drive early in the third, after that, they had the field goal, and then they were able to kind of stop and come up in big situations. Yes, did they charge downfield? Yes, I get it. But they came up when they needed to, right? And they stood up. Momentum was on our side, and when we got the ball back, we did something with it, right? We scored on every single drive that we got the ball back after that.
Right.
That's exactly what you want. That put us in there. The momentum was in our favor.
Go ahead, James.
Real quick, I was over at my sister's. We planned this out. I made dinner. I made baked ziti and homemade wings. But as the other two people, co-hosts, were sleeping, I was over at my sister's house with my 3 kids. I have an 8-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old crying his ass off because he lost his ninny, which is pacifier. And my fiance's looking at me like, we got to go. He don't have his ninny. We got to go. I can't take the crying, whatever. But once we got the ball, I was like, we're gonna win this. We found his ninny. He passed out. They ran down the field, scored a touchdown. We went home. I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
So it worked out perfect.
It's all on the ninny.
The ninny. We found the ninny.
So since James throws me under the bus here, totally went to bed, 100%.
I mean, he worked all day.
You threw yourself under the bus.
I woke up at 4:30 in the morning to our text message chain about this game. I'm like, holy crap, I need to find this game. And literally sat up at 4:30 in the morning in bed watching the NFL Network replay that just happened to be on at 4:30 in the morning. So I watched about 10 minutes that I had already seen of the game and the rest of the game.
So we watched it, just not with the rest of us. Well, but like the drive the Colts have in regulation, right? You're talking about them going down to get the 50-yard. They get down to the 50-yard line pretty quick, right?
Yeah.
I think it was the first pass, right? It was to the 50. So that's where
This was at the end of regulation.
Yeah, at the end of regulation, them going, Rodrigo missing the 47. Yeah, this is where the Tavon Young situation comes in, right? With that Jack Doyle piece. But ultimately, I think that piece in overtime, the momentum being there, Lamar's vision leaps and bounds. He was seeing the game, and he said it after the game. The game slowed down for him.
That's what I'm saying. Like at the end of that third quarter, with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, Lamar flipped the switch. And, all the criticism that he's taken over the years, especially going into this year about not being able to come back. And every game this year, he's had to come back in, right? And this was the most epic of epic comebacks that you could possibly have, right?
And he can't throw.
And he can't throw. We're going for a rushing record, and he ends up setting the franchise record for passing yards, right? How awesome is that? How awesome is that? But he was locked in. So going into this overtime, I said to Ryan and my buddy that was sitting there with me, I said, if they get this coin toss, game is over. And sure enough, they get the coin toss. Lamar, just one play after the other and just meticulously goes down the field. Again, in this game, what was Lamar? He was 37 of 43.
85% completion percentage, the highest of any team, right? And he was just told this afterwards. Any team, any player to have a 40-plus passing attempts.
Yep.
The highest completion percentage in NFL history. NFL history. That's up with there with some of the guys, like the guy that's ageless and timeless at this point, Tom Brady, right? With the way he's been doing 5 touchdowns every freaking game, right?
Right.
It's impressive. 4 TDs. And here's the kicker. Of the 43 passing attempts, 42 of them were from the goddamn pocket.
Yep. Yeah.
One scramble pass. One.
So after this game, right, we're all in, euphoria and we're all happy and everything. I had a moment of clarity and I said, oh, shit. You know what this means, right? Buddy goes, what? Said, he's about to get real paid. Like, real paid. Like, Patrick Mahomes paid. Like, we all thought he was going to be top 3 money. We all agreed with that. But Patrick Mahomes was kind of the bar setter of contracts, right? Even Josh Allen's contract was underneath him, which usually you don't see that. You see the next quarterback in line goes over and trumps that. You didn't see that with him. We thought Lamar would be close. This kind of game, and if this continues, especially these last couple of games, I'm telling you, he's going to be Patrick Mahomes or more.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. When you look at this whole piece, and I'll get to you in a second, James. You look at the numbers, right? Bobby Trosek from WBAL put this out after, this morning. 34th win in 42 career starts, right? First 400-yard passing game in his career, 437, highest in team history. 504 total yards of offense, 140 and a half passer rating in this game.
Yeah.
For a guy that can't throw, right?
You know what? I had a question about this, though, when I started looking at the numbers, and maybe one of you guys can explain this to me, or maybe somebody in the chat room can explain this to me, right? 37 of 43, 85% completions, 442 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, but he only had a 140.5 passer rating. It wasn't a perfect passer rating. It doesn't take a perfect completion percentage to have a perfect passer rating. What was the drop-off? I don't understand what kept him, because isn't a perfect passer rating like 156 or 152 or something? It's like an oddball 150s number.
I think it's 156.
I'm looking at you. I know you got this, Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, somebody out there that's a stacker. Make this make sense to me. I'm looking at the numbers. I'm like, nothing deters him from being a perfect passer rating.
Until we find out. I was going to say is we have quarterbacks in this leagues, and then we have Lamar, which is a playmaker. And playmaker is not like he can't throw the ball.
Good.
He
Jacob
gets,
says 158.3.
The fumble might actually be a big part of it.
he gets things done throwing, running, and so forth. So
Yeah.
you have quarterbacks, and then you have playmakers. And I have nothing wrong with a quarterback being a playmaker.
Right.
No.
But the thing is, Dak is actually more money than Patrick Mahomes.
Question on the fumble that he passed the line of scrimmage. He becomes a runner at that point. So how is that factoring into his passer rating?
I don't think
Yeah,
that factors into the passer
That doesn't make
rating.
any sense.
Right. No, I think he's just talking through it. Because that's the only negative that you can say on Lamar in that game was the fumble.
The equation for QB rating is based on TDs, yards, completions, and attempts and
Yeah,
picks.
exactly. It doesn't
He
make
was
any
great
sense.
in
Right,
all those.
but he was great at all of them. So how is that not perfect? Like, it just
Chuck
doesn't make
Summers
sense.
says, and math.
Right. And math that doesn't make sense or that nobody can explain.
Oh man. But yeah, I mean, it just with what he was able to do, and that was with it. The situation going into this game. What was the storyline? It was the 100-yard rushing. It was the fact that they were going to do it. And I think the Colts, they developed a scheme that was going to stop that. They didn't want to be the team that the record was broken on, and I think they had that in mind. 14 yards away, it's a total of 86 for the team. Lamar had 62 of those on 14
He
carries.
accounted for 96% of their offense.
Yeah, that's crazy.
96% of their offense.
That's an absolute
This is what I'm saying. He is the best player in the NFL. I don't give a fuck what you want to title him.
Yeah, that
title him a
top 100 on
quarterback.
ESPN. Why is he not number 1?
He is the best
So
player in the
96,
NFL.
so the 4% came from Tucker's kick, right?
4% came from Latavius Murray and Devontae Freeman, and there were a couple of
Each
yards.
had 0.5%.
I would say, speaking of those guys, right? You talked earlier about the running game really not getting going, but they really didn't get a lot of attempts either because Tyson Williams gets 4 carries, right, for 6 yards, 1.5 yards per carry. Latavius Murray 6 carries for 17 yards. Devontae Freeman 1 carry for 1 yard. None of them got going anywhere in this game, but they also weren't giving them the attempts. I mean, that's the 3 of them combined for less than what we designed Lamar for in this game.
Yeah, but they just could not get anything going on the ground. You got to maximize on each one of your attempts. And when you're early in this game, when you're not converting third downs, you're not going to have a lot of opportunities.
No.
They weren't not only not converting on the ground, but they weren't converting through the air on third down.
But you were
That's the
early
problem.
in the game. You also weren't attempting to run on first down either. Whereas typically that's where you want to make your first run, give them a gash or two, get in that situation. They were going after and trying to get over the top early, and it just wasn't working. The thing here that I look at is the other piece to this, in my opinion, is they didn't get Williams or Murray. They really weren't out there in consecutive runs or consecutive drives for the most part. right? We never really gave them a chance. We really never got the chance to see the game develop from the run game standpoint.
Are we seeing the tide change? Are we seeing this becoming more of a pass-first offense than we are a run-first offense? Is that starting to happen?
Well, look, here's the deal. We're going to find out because we talked about this last week that we said this week and next week are going to be where we find out our running backs are for the rest of the season. And the interesting twist to this was on Sunday morning, the news that came out from Adam Schefter. He was reporting that the Ravens were apparently fielding phone calls for guys in our running back room, our current running backs. Where does this leave us for next week? Do you see one of these guys being somebody that we're willing to give up and really get something of value in return for one of these guys?
It depends on what their what the return on investment would be. But this is part of the reason that we've seen. This is part of the reason that we've seen some of the shifting around between practice squad and who's elevated for game day and who isn't. They're trying to give everybody an opportunity to show what they can do and to see how effective that they'll be in this offense. Le'Veon Bell obviously has familiarity to Kansas City. Kansas City just lost Clyde Edwards-Helaire, so maybe there's a connection there.
He burned that bridge.
I understand he burned that bridge with Andy Reid, but
burned it.
I don't know where these other calls are coming from.
Right.
There was no leaks as to who it was. It was just leaks that, yes, the Ravens are fielding calls from other teams. That was the only connection that I could draw. But I don't know. I'd be interested to see. At this point, I like this kind of running back by committee thing. I know a lot of you guys aren't a fan of it because it's too much of a change of pace and all. But I think all of them bring something different in value. Latavius Murray is that big body, short yardage back that none of the other guys can be. I think Le'Veon Bell is the more complete back. He's a good pass catcher and he's a good runner. Devontae Freeman surprised me in this game with his pass catching ability out of the backfield a little bit. So I think they all kind of bring individual. And then Tyson Williams, I like him as another complete back, can do it all type of thing. But you got to have more than one, right?
Yeah.
So you got to have a good rotation.
I know James had something to bring up earlier. Go ahead, James.
Real quick, I think watching the game on TV, I think by Tyson getting not playing last week because he was a healthy stretch, I think that messed with his head.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
Because when he got the ball, he didn't look. He looked like, I don't want to fuck up, I don't want to fumble and be back down and stuff like that. He didn't look like him expose himself and looking like he's ready to play.
They were calling plays for him to go like right up the middle when he's the outside Dobbins type. He's supposed to be trying to cut to the outside.
He looked like he didn't want to fuck up anything up. He wanted to still be on his roster, so he was trying to. He didn't look normal
It's funny that you bring that up because when I was watching some of his runs and so when they were doing the pull-out shots afterwards of him getting stopped, the thing that it reminded me of, did you guys watch the Hard Knocks this year with the Cowboys? That guy Hardy
with the glasses?
With the guy with the glasses. And they were like, Elliott was even telling him, dude, you got to commit. You got to go.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this is almost mirror images of what we saw out of that guy in this situation, seeing Tyson in this situation. And it was, I think you're right. I think it plays with a guy's confidence, especially a young guy who thinks he's doing well.
But again, it wasn't just Tyson. It was nobody in the running game was getting anything going in this game.
But Murray looked.
And part of it was the offensive line wasn't getting any push. No. You had Ben Cleveland go down early in this game with a knee injury, right? And then you got Ben Powers out there, which Ben Powers is a good replacement and everything.
You don't have Zeitler out there.
You got you Villanueva, who's out there but still playing banged up, right? And the defensive front of the Colts is pretty good. They got DeForest Buckner out there. They've got the linebacker. I can't think of his name right now. Who's the linebacker, middle linebacker for the Colts?
Leonard.
Who?
Darius Leonard.
Darius Leonard, another really good tackle and tackler and a guy forced through the middle. They were able to stop the Ravens' running game. It just took the Ravens a long time to be able to start changing the offense and throwing the ball down the field, and we saw how things changed when they did.
Speaking of throwing the ball, too, the other... Go ahead, Ryan.
I looked up the QBR thing. I think what's happening is we're mixing up passer rating, which is what Chuck was talking about. It was the description of that. QBR does include both turnovers on fumbles and includes their rushes.
The 140 is passer rating.
Is passer rating?
It was the 140.
So I'll look up the max for passer rating.
QBR
is the 158 thing. So I'll check what passer rating
No,
max
passer
is.
rating is the 158 thing. QBR is kind of like a
I think it's 100, right?
is a hundred like a
90
like
or something
A,
like
B,
that.
C, D kind of grade.
Right.
So you get like 87. That's still a really good game.
But we were talking about the passing game and everything. One guy that stood out because he came out with some big catches. He was averaging 11. He only had 4 receptions. But Devin Duvernay continues to kind of step up and show what he can do. 4 receptions on 4 targets. So he caught everything that was thrown his way. 45 yards.
He basically replaced the lost production of Sammy Watkins when Watkins went down.
He's done for the year.
Watkins?
I'm just saying his
He
hamstring.
thinks he's done for the year.
Once you get the
that's his
hamstring,
usual-
that's a normally I'm done
On
for the
that
year.
hit, I'm pretty sure I saw his soul leave his body.
Yeah.
He got hit
got
pretty. He
destroyed.
got
Yeah.
hit pretty freaking hard. But yeah, no, I was happy with Duvernay out there. The little bit that they worked with Prochet out there. I think these two guys, given the right opportunity, especially in this more pass-friendly offense, can be effective. I just got to give them the opportunity.
Duvernay, some of the plays that Duvernay was making reminded me of what we saw 2 years ago with Willie Snead. Some of the over-the-middle catches that were for decent yardage, 10
Right.
yards each, 10 yards each time. I think it's one of those things you got to look at. He's looking good. You got to continue to let Lamar develop that relationship with him because it's obviously working. It's something you want to keep going. We mentioned all the injuries. One of the things that I did want to talk about, and this was kind of pre-game situation from last week, stemming from last week, was we heard the story that Odafe Oweh was being fined by the NFL. I think it was $11,500. Pennies in the bucket for some of these guys, but at the same time,
Doesn't make it right.
it was a hit. It was a clean hit because Teddy brings himself down to take the hit. What's he gonna do? He was looking up at him. His head was forward. There's no crown of the helmet. There was nothing to indicate this should have been a flag. I didn't hear. I think that somebody on the Ravens defense, a Calais Campbell, a Justin Houston, one of those guys should have very easily made this fine payment for him. And I sure as hell hope they did.
Right.
Or Wink makes it for him. I don't care.
Go ahead,
No,
Drew.
I was just gonna say the hit didn't even give him the concussion. The concussion came from smacking against the ground, which can happen
Right.
to
Anybody.
Clean hits.
Exactly.
So
his head bounced on the ground. Exactly right. The whole thing was BS, in my opinion. Davis says, wasn't it Andrews that made a safety pay for trying to hit him hard? Yes, it was. If you're going to come at a big guy like that, you better come correct, and he definitely didn't.
He went down.
It was a hard-hitting game, though. I will give him that. There's a lot of hard hits in this game. Some news that came out today, because we were talking about offensive line, and, obviously Ben Cleveland went down with the injury. It doesn't sound as serious as some thought that it was originally. He was placed on IR today. It's a short-term IR, so he's at least going to be gone for 3 weeks. But it doesn't sound like he's going to be lost for the year. But sticking with the offensive line, your boy, Ryan, offensive tackle Adrian Ely's been suspended without pay for the next 6 games for violating the NFL policy on performance-enhancing substances. Suspension began last night and will continue until he's eligible to return on November 22nd.
Well, he's from Oklahoma, so
I think he might have thought, like, hey, I'm on the practice squad. Ain't nobody going to be testing me.
probably.
Exactly.
Probably.
Nobody's worried about me.
I'll stop a week before they promote me.
But
I'll
that's
be
not good, though, man. I mean, we're already short as hell
Yeah.
on offensive line depth. This isn't a guy that hopefully we didn't see in a game at all because our offensive line got more healthy and we didn't have any more injuries. But you like having a guy like that in your back pocket if you need him. But
Yeah.
he
he's gonna be
forgot
gone.
to bring his oil change that day.
Well,
But I will
next,
say this, though. In the short term, when you think back to some of the guys that have been suspended within the Ravens organization due to performance-enhancing drugs,
They usually end up pretty good.
usually end up pretty good. So maybe this is a good omen for Adrian Ely.
That's because they learn how to cheat better.
That's exactly right.
there you go. So up next, obviously, we got the Chargers taking on the Chargers. So let's kind of break down, what we're looking at for this game. Look,
Speaking of performance-enhancing drugs, the
Yeah.
Chargers DN from the Terps,
Yeah, right.
Sean Merriman.
Yeah. Look, some keys to the game that I kind of was looking at. You got to
Stop Herbert.
Stop Herbert as much as you can.
Period.
Stop Herbert.
Stop Herbert. Period. That's the key to the game.
No,
Eckler,
you
too.
might as well put 2 more periods after that and say you also need to account for Eckler.
and Williams.
Eckler is as effective as he is because of guys like Herbert.
Well, but he's also effective because there's wide receivers like Williams, Keenan Allen, Jared Cook.
Did you even know who Mike Williams was until Herbert was here? No, we did because we watched football, but most people didn't even know who Mike Williams was until Herbert came
We just knew he jumped real high and got hurt.
Right.
Yeah,
He's 6'5", like how Ryan likes him.
Yeah.
I love him.
This Chargers offense has really been able to put points on the board. They've been impressive. You know, as much as we're promoting Lamar, we heard the MVP chants last night from the fans and Hollywood chanting him out, you know, MVP. There's a lot of pundits out there that feel that Justin Herbert is the MVP right now, a front runner, or at least a front runner for the MVP.
100%.
With the way he's been playing, I don't think you can debate that he's not in the discussion.
Over 1,500 yards passing, 13 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. Again, another guy that's single-handedly carrying his team to success.
Well, I don't know if you can say single-handedly when Eckler has 67 carries for 349 and 14.
When you're throwing for 1,500 yards, your pieces around you are going to look good.
He's made Mike Williams matter again.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
Exactly. This isn't, especially against this Ravens defense, who right now is railing. I mean, they're in the bottom. I think they're ranked 24th or 25th. Defensively.
Browns had 500 yards of offense, no turnovers, and still lost.
Exactly.
Is the MVP. That's what that's.
Exactly. This is going in order for the Ravens to win this. They are 100% going to have to be efficient on offense and go blow for blow for them because the Chargers are going to put up a ton of points. This has Chiefs of the last 3 years written on it. Not Chiefs of this year, but Chiefs of the last 3 years written on it offensively.
The thing that you got to look at here, you know, and I know that we don't take these numbers into account. You mentioned with us the 24th on the defense. You know, on the offensive side of the ball, you know, we've been doing well with rushing. We've been doing well with passing. Well, their passing game on defense, they've been able to stop the passing game. They're ranked 3rd in the league, and their rushing is 17th. So what does that tell you? We should probably look to run the ball a little bit more in this game than we did this past week.
Well, then Lamar's going to have to do it.
They definitely have a very good secondary. You know, Derwin James, in my opinion, one of the best safeties in the game. They've got a very athletic core back there. So yeah, this is going to be a real test for Lamar to see how much he really has evolved. Listen, as much as he did in this game, the 443 yards that he put up in this game was great, but he was mostly doing it against practice squad corners because the Colts lost a ton of corners to injuries. I'm not trying to take away from the game. He still put up the numbers and still, I mean, was razor accurate in this game, but he's going to be doing it against a much better team.
You watch out for Bosa
in the Chargers and Bosa.
That's a key on offense for me is our offensive line. They've got to protect Lamar, give him time and give him lanes. Because if you can give him time, then that core back there, we saw what Baker and their offense was able to do, right, against this Chargers defense. It's doable. You can do something against this defense with your passing game. The big thing here is you have to buy him time. If you can buy him time and let your receivers get open, he'll find them or he'll run for the extra yardage.
Right.
But if you have him scrambling and you don't give him that pocket, there's going to be problems.
So Chuck had a bold prediction. He said both teams combined for over 1,000 yards and 80 points. So essentially you're saying 2.0 repeat of this game. They had over 1,000 yards in that Colts game. They had over 80 points in total. Or no, they didn't have over 80 points.
We're near.
But they're going to have over 80 points in total in this game to be able to keep up with that.
It was close to being over 80 points.
No.
It's close to being over 60 points.
Yeah.
What was the final?
Math.
Yeah, it was 31-20. 25. So
I don't know.
56.
I clicked though.
56.
Clicked.
No, I was talking about the Browns game.
Oh, the Browns game. Yeah, he's
because
Yeah.
Okay. I was saying I was thinking he said the Browns.
No,
Browns.
I'm just
the
saying
Browns game.
offensively it would be a repeat because that in this Colts game they had combined for over 1,000 yards of total offense. It was one of the first things I noticed at looking at the stats when I was walking out of the game.
So all right, so let's kind of break into our predictions here. We're gonna do what we did last week. Start with the Thursday night football game. We've got the Bucks 4-1 going to take on the Eagles, who are 2-3 right now. Fred, we'll start with you on this first one. Who do you got winning and by what score?
I think we're all going to probably be on the same page with this one. If not, I question your pick on this.
Hey, when you got to play catch up, I can do whatever the hell I want with my picks. All right.
Tom Brady. I'm not pointing you out yet, Drew. You just called.
I'm just calling
yourself out.
saying.
You got Tom Brady at 40, whatever he is, 19 years old, or whatever the fuck he is. This
5
point.
touchdowns a week, except for 1 week.
411 yards and 5 touchdowns this past week. It's unreal the kind of numbers that this guy's putting up. And again, he's got so much talent on that offense. And every week it's somebody different. This past week it was Mike Evans. The week before that it's Gronk. The week before that it's Godwin. He's got weapons all over the field, including AB. Nick, I know you love him. He's out there. I think the Bucs win this one pretty handedly. I got them winning 33-23.
All right, Drew, you outed yourself. Go ahead. Who you got here?
Eagles 20-17.
He's not even going to say anything.
Justify
literally
it.
just because I need to play catch up, and it is a Thursday night game with Eagles being the home team.
And you see the Eagles defense limiting them to 17 points.
Is it going to rain?
Tom Brady's listed as questionable.
look, how? Yes, okay, that was rain, but how many of us
Tom
said?
Brady's been questionable his entire life.
How many of us just said they're going to wipe the floor with the Patriots? It didn't happen.
It was.
They both played in rain. I don't want to hear it.
No,
you
but-
both play in
but-
sunshine. You both play in snow. You both play in the same goddamn
But
atmosphere
it's two
together.
people that know each other.
That doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it does. You got,
It makes
yeah.
it-
I
you know
agree
what
with
you're
on
going
that
to
one.
do. So
You know his reads. You know his
Hindsight says it
tendencies.
matters.
that
John
situation.
Harbaugh knows Mike Tomlin. They play each other twice a year for a decade and a half, and games are different.
It's
every
different
time.
when it's a quarterback and coach relationship, and
I don't buy it.
you know every single
Eagles
read
are going to
and
win.
every
Next
tell.
player.
All right, James,
Anyway.
what do you got going on this game?
I got the game going.
Mind you,
James is 16-1.
is the guy you should be listening to apparently this year on his picks. He's sitting at 16-1.
Except for when we were
16-1.
betting, and he almost lost
16-1
the
on
bet.
the year. So if you're putting any
They
money
didn't
through
count
my
though,
bookie,
because the
do it
bet
on him.
didn't count. They didn't go through it. It's irrelevant.
All right, what do you got?
All right, I have the Bucs winning 37-24. Tom Brady's gonna be Tom Brady. The Eagles' defense ain't what it is. If they can stop Hurts, which that's their offense, this would be a done deal. I know when we get to Scott, we know why his score is because he has Tom Brady on his fantasy team. That's why it's like that. So we'll go over to Ryan.
So, first of all, why did we not do 14 parlays with him each week? He would have been 4-1 in parlays. That's amazing.
Yeah.
My numbers suck. Don't go with me. I'm really bad at this. But I think we get this one right with the Buccaneers winning 35-20. I do see they're being really weird. I know Brady's always questionable, but they just listed him as like a football injury.
He hurt his
It's the
thumb
thumb.
or
It's the thumb
something.
because when he threw the ball, he's hit it. But he's done
Yeah.
that before and
He
come back.
broke a nail.
And he broke
It's
it early. He
dramatic
still threw
because it's a
3
Thursday
TDs
night
after he, or
game.
not
Yeah.
broke it, but he still threw 3
He's
TDs
gonna
after he
find
hit it.
whatever like wishing well full of magic potion he has and like injecting his thumb. He'll be okay.
Does anybody in this room believe in Jalen Hurts?
No.
Do you believe in that?
As a NFL quarterback?
As an NFL
'Cause,
quarterback.
like a fantasy quarterback, he's fucking great.
As an NFL quarterback, forget fantasy. All these mobile dual threat quarterbacks are great for fantasy. We get that. But do you think that he's actually sustainable as an NFL quarterback? And this is, again, coming from fans who have this same type of quarterback here in Baltimore, but he's in a class of his own.
My feeling on him is he could have the athleticism to pull it off, but it's always a coaching thing with that team. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Garnett does.
You were with Peterson, and then there was disarray. And
Right.
then you bring in Sirianni. He's talking about playing rock, paper, scissors to decide if he's going to draft a guy or not.
Mark says
So-
if Flacco starts, Eagles will win 67-9. Because he's about the only one that's got Tom Brady's number.
Yeah.
That is for sure. All right, Scott, what do you got?
For me, I've got this, as James alluded to, high scoring game. I've got it Bucks. I've got this being a complete blowout, 48-17.
Holy shit. Take the over.
I'm taking the over in this game. I really think he's going to come out. The man hurt his thumb last week and still threw 3 touchdowns after that. This whole crap about he's questionable. He was on the
I don't think
sideline
there's
sticking
ever
his
been a
hand
week in
ice.
his career that he hasn't been questionable. But that was always a Patriots thing.
All right.
All right, let's go on to the Ravens game. Sunday, 1 o'clock. Chargers, Ravens, 4-1, 4-1. We just went down the litany of weapons that this team has in the Chargers.
Okay, so
and how reeling our defense is right now.
we're going to say clean sweep, but nose goes for who we pick.
I'll let you start.
I
Go
said
ahead.
nose goes.
I got it. I'll take it. I'm
All right, Ryan.
He's speaking for all of us right now.
All right. So I got it as a loss for the Ravens. Home team is not pulling this one out. That is a lot of offense over there. If he's not number one in the MVP race, he's at least in the top 3. I give Scott a little bit more credit. I think Austin Eckler is a little better than an average running back, even though he obviously benefits from having a great quarterback. The last year
If
of
he can
Phillip
stay on the
Rivers,
field, that's his
true,
problem.
but you only have to stay on the field for one game to beat us. It's not he has to stay on the field for the whole season. So Austin Eckler was good in the last year of Phillip Rivers, who was garbage. So he's a good running back. So I think there's going to be too much out there. They have 2 amazing wide receivers, and obviously we only have 1 cornerback left that can cover anybody. I don't know what's going to happen here. So 35-27. I do have a staying in it because Lamar can stay in it with anybody, but I just don't think we can keep this magic up. But who knows? I've been wrong most of the time, so let's hope I stay wrong.
All right, James, what do you got?
My score is 31-27. This is Scott's fault because he sends us a text message like before the Ravens game, and after watching the Ravens game, the score could be outrageous. But hey, if I'm wrong about the Ravens wins this game, I'll be fine about it. But the Chargers just too much. They have too much offense. Their defense is sick, and the way that we played last night, this game's going to be over at halftime for sure. So, like I said, I had it 31-27, but it could be more.
All right. What do you got, Drew?
Yeah, Chargers 35-30. The problem is you can't come out flat, and now you're gonna have to almost do. I mean, they could put up offense. You'd almost have to do what you did against Kansas City.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you got to keep that firepower going. You can't really have 3. Not every drive has to end up in a scoring, but 3 and outs, like, in the first 5 possessions. You know what I mean? Like, a few of the first possessions, you can't do that crap. The defense is just so suspect now.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see. I think the only thing the saving grace I could say for maybe Ravens having that shot is we haven't seen it yet, but we've known the Chargers to lose games dramatically at the end. And what have we been doing? Winning games dramatically at the end. So maybe that if that rears its ugly head, we can still win, but I don't feel it.
Yeah. All right. So I went back and forth on this. And it was hard for me to come out because I try to be a realist when I make these picks. I'm also competitive. I like to have the best record at the end of the day, but James can be hard to catch at this point. Here's the thing. It took us a miracle kick by Justin Tucker to beat the Lions. It took us a miracle comeback to beat the Colts. This Chargers team offensively is surreal. And I do think Lamar will put on a show in this game. And I think it's going to be something up where, like what Chuck was talking about. This is going to be like a 70-point.
I think David Missler said 35-35 tie in overtime.
That. This is the most James pick ever from David Missler here.
It's going to be a high-scoring game. There's going to be a ton of yardage. I would not be surprised if there's not 1,000 yards in this game, even against this secondary that the Chargers have.
I'm just hoping.
I do think Lamar will put on a show, but I got the Chargers pulling this one out, 40-32.
Look, you guys have named everything. We've talked about this. I've got this being a 1-score game, not quite as high as all of you. I've got this being again a Chargers win. It was a flip of the coin. I think both teams showed, spots where if you scheme right, you can play against it. Or you can play against what they're doing. We can find some holes in their offense. Obviously, the other teams have, in their defense, other teams have. I just don't know. Again, I think I'm in line with you, Fred. I'm a realist in this situation. There's a lot of weapons. We have a lot of weapons too.
Right.
But we have a lot more question marks than what they have. And that's what it comes down to for me is that we have more question marks. Offensive line, some of our secondary and the health of our secondary. Anthony Averett, I know we didn't mention that. Anthony Averett in this last game,
They picked him apart.
They picked him apart. But part of that, I noticed he wasn't playing press coverage like we've seen him in the past several games.
Yeah,
he wasn't
too much
up
of a
on his man.
cushion.
He was giving a bigger cushion. If they can clean up some of this stuff, I think they have a much better shot.
Here's another thing that's a missing piece in this game. Drew, I knew you were high on him coming out of the draft, and I still like this kid, but he's a rookie, and I think he's playing a little bit more than he should be because he has to. Brandon Stevens is a liability out there right now.
Yeah.
He's getting better, and I like his future potential, But getting a guy like Deshaun Elliott back helps this defense tremendously in tackling, especially in those short yardage situations and keeping those receivers from getting that kind of cushion. But Anthony Averett, like you said, to your point, this was kind of an anomaly of a game for him because he has played really, really well this year up until this game, but this was a bad one for him.
I like how you guys steal my line, realistic. I'm a realistic fan. I said it's against the Ravens.
We've been saying it since we started this.
No, you don't say realistic. You're like, oh, Ravens.
All right, but hold on a sec. Garnett's just out here picking random ass games.
Oh, I saw
He
that.
said
The Chiefs.
38-34 Chiefs. What are you talking, Chiefs?
Somehow the Chiefs win this game, and they're not even playing in this game.
So I think it sounds like we all agree, as hard as it was for all of us to pick the Chargers in this game, we all want to be wrong. We all want to be wrong in this.
I did change my score after.
I hope I get my second loss on this.
And yes, Craig, we are really missing Marcus Peters. 100%.
Yeah.
But maybe we can get lucky with a Herbert COVID test.
Don't you wish that on anybody? Golly, that's awful.
Anyway.
As a Raven fan, I'm being realistic.
Well,
Yeah, my score changes drastically if that COVID.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So, all right, so moving along, the Sunday night game, we've got the Seahawks against the Steelers going into Pittsburgh. Both teams 2-3 right now. I think a little more surprising out of the Seattle Seahawks. You have Russell Wilson going out with the injury. He's expected to not necessarily be playing in this game. So for me, I'll start us off. I think because of that main situation, because of Russell Wilson not being really much of a factor in this game, I think the Steelers are able to pull this. I do not see this as a high-scoring game. I think the Steelers pull it out 21-10. I really do not see the Seahawks being able to put up much here.
All right, yeah, I was completely blown away by Geno Smith and the way he looked when he came into this game because the dude was on fire in that game when he came back. It wasn't enough for them to come back and win that game, but, man, he looked good. And I haven't seen Geno Smith look good since he was in West Virginia. Like, he's been a bad
That's
NFL
not saying a
quarterback.
lot, Fred.
Shit, I completely forgot that's where he plays.
Yeah, he was damn good at West Virginia. But I don't think it's enough on the road. If they were home, they're behind, the 12, whatever, the 12th man, whatever you call it, maybe I'd give them a little bit more of a chance. But I think Pittsburgh, behind that hostile crowd, I think the Steelers will do enough. Big Ben will pull some rabbit out of his ass at the last minute to score a touchdown to win the game. They'll win 27-20.
All right, Drew, what do you got?
Yeah, I got it as Steelers 31-20. Same kind of philosophy with you. Like, you have a Pacific Northwest Coast team coming all the way over to the East Coast. A lot of those times, the numbers favor the home team in those situations. But I think Geno's got to prove it. If it was a Russell, that's a whole different different ball game with Russell Wilson playing.
Right.
We've not seen it from Geno. Yeah, he looked good, but that's also coming out in the Rams. You know what I mean? Like, you're not really expecting a Geno Smith to come in. And, he did look good, and I know the Steelers are suspect, but I got Steelers.
Yeah. All right, James, what do you got?
I got this one as the winner that's going to separate you guys. I have the Seahawks winning 31-24. Geno has nothing to lose except looking good, maybe getting a starting job next year. They have nothing to lose because they're 2-3. They're not looking good in the division, so they need to step it up. Steelers are shit. Big Ben is old. He's going to get blown up. I'm telling you, Seattle's going to win this game. You have nothing to lose. They lost.
Bad defense, though.
It's not that bad, and you have a bad quarterback and a bad offensive line.
No Juju now.
You have an all bad,
True.
probably the worst offensive line in the league right now, and you have an old quarterback that can't move. Adams is going to be big in this game.
Okay. I
right.
like it. What do you got, Ryan?
All right. So I got the Steelers winning 20-13. I just think, again, Russell Wilson's the biggest deal. This would be a blowout by the Seahawks if I had Russell Wilson there. Big Ben can't throw the ball, but he's getting the job done with Deontay Johnson, and I think he gets just enough between Deontay and Najee just dumping 5-yard passes to him to get this win.
Bold prediction before you get yours, Scott. Minkah Fitzpatrick has a game-changing pick six in this game. Pick six for a touchdown.
Wow. I already gave mine, by the way, if you weren't paying attention.
I missed it.
I started us off, and then we went to
forgot.
you. I do want to address this. Mark says all y'all are going to be eating crow in reference to
I
all
hope
the.
so, man.
Hey,
Hey,
look,
listen.
we're ready to eat
We
it.
always
we
say
will gladly sit here and
we
eat
will
crow.
wear that L proudly. I think this might be the first time that we were all against the Ravens ever. I can never remember another
is,
time
yeah.
where I think, even against the Chiefs, There's always that
Always
one or two of
trying
us
to pick it.
that think the Ravens are going to be able to pull it off every year. So I think it's the first game where none of us are confident.
We put these predictions in after the first half last night.
That could be true. That could be true. Let's go to Monday night. Monday night in probably, in my opinion, the best team in football right now. You got the Buffalo Bills. There you go, Buffalo Chuck. 4-1 going into Tennessee to take on the 3-2 Titans. Buffalo is playing really, really good football right now. I mean, Josh Allen, we talked about him, like just the development in his game, the confidence that he has, like his ability to spread the ball around. They just put up a ton of points against the Chiefs, and they barely even used Stephon Diggs. They were using anybody out there with a set of hands that was like an eligible receiver. It didn't matter, right? Emmanuel Sanders is rejuvenated there in Buffalo. I really, really like this Buffalo team. I've got them winning this on the road in Tennessee pretty handily, 38-27.
I've got them winning more handily than that. I've got this being Bills for all the exact same reasons. I'll pass to Ryan, but 45-27. Expect them to go off in this game.
I like it. We got Ryan.
All right, Monday night, I got the Bills 28-20. I don't think it's going to be quite as big of a blowout. I think they spent all their bullets this week against the Chiefs. That was their Super Bowl until they play in the actual Super Bowl.
So they have a little bit of a hangover, you think?
Little bit of hangover from being like that unstoppable. I mean, come on. How many times this year is he really going to hurdle a player coming out of the backfield?
That was awesome.
That was pretty damn good.
It was amazing.
You
But
talk about those
That
like
was tight end-esque.
You talk about those like poster moments. 100% that is a poster.
That's his Hall of Fame reel. It
Right.
will 100%
You got
be
Moss
that
next
one.
Right.
Yeah, right. There you
So
go.
I just don't. I think a little bit of hangover. I know the Titans' defense is bad, but I just think they'll be able to slow the game down with Derrick Henry and be a little bit lower scoring game, 28-20.
All right, Cass and Cows. James, we'll start with you. What do you got?
I got the Bills winning this game 38-21. Bills look good against the Chiefs, but this can also be a trap game for them because they won so easily and took care of business with the Chiefs, so they might be on their high horse. So I have the Bills winning, but again, Titans have nothing to lose. That division sucks anyways.
It does suck.
So they're at home, and Beast Henry is running, so hopefully they can make some tackles.
All right. Drew, what do you got?
I got the Bills 35-20.
So we're pretty close.
Titans defense is garbage.
Yeah.
And AJ Brown's banged up. He played last week, but then you bring in Julio, he isn't playing.
Right.
Derrick Henry's still Derrick Henry. I mean, I get that. I mean, that'd be a different story if Henry's blowing the doors off right away and keeps it close. I can see them hanging around. But the Bills they're off their high of beating Kansas City. Well, then they're off their high of beating Miami. They've won like 3 straight games of just.
Beating Miami is not a high.
But when you win 3 straight games where you kick the other team's ass, it doesn't matter who the other team's ass is. It's
That's
pro
true.
football.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're on a goddamn roll. So a team that has a suspect defense when your offense has been clicking as it has, if we're sitting there talking about the Chargers being able to do what they did against the Ravens, then it's going to be the same thing happening with the Bills.
Buffalo
Yeah.
Chucks being the anxious fan that you would be for your hometown team. I agree with James here. The Bills need to be careful.
Okay. I mean, I like it. Buffalo Chuck, we talked during the draft, and the Bills had drafted a new defensive front. They got the kid Gregory Rousseau out of Miami.
That
They got
pick he had was
that kid is an
ridiculous.
absolute freak, man. He is good. And he was a wide receiver back in high school. I had no idea. Like, the dude is just an athlete. Then they add a freak like Basham, who's still, getting kind of acclimated to the NFL game, but that kid's going to be another freak. I'm telling you, this defensive front, which pressure was an issue last year,
in the draft.
they look really, really good, man. I think that defense can handle Derrick Henry. All right, Ryan, it's time for a social media shout out. Who's been out in the chat room chatting it up tonight?
We got a lot of people out in the chat room. First, I want to eat a little bit of crow for Buffalo Chuck, because I remember when we were ranking the top 4 teams in the AFC, we did the Bills and everything. I gave them a lot of shit that the reason I put them last place was they had not improved their running backs or their tight ends that I thought was the big weakness. Well, your tight ends apparently were just fucking fine.
Yeah.
Apparently that was fine. Your running backs are still terrible, but you're blowing people out without them. So what are you going to do? First of the week was not Chuck Summers or his wife Stephanie. We got David Missler with a first. I don't think he's
Hey,
out.
David.
Congrats, David. I'll put his first comment of the day. Chargers have a great O-line. Herbert has not been hit. Let OA punch him in the mouth a few times and see if that passer rating goes down. If we tackle, we'll have a chance.
I like it.
You got to get pressure, especially if you're not covering in the back end. That's the only way that you can defeat that is you got to get pressure. You got to make them uncomfortable. So I agree.
Yeah.
All right, we got C. Iron Attic, Abdi Hassan, Chuck Summers, Jacob Paul, Kaylee Shamel, Travis Whitfield, Ray Jacks, Flock Nation, Adit Mahood. My boy John Googs out here, who had a bold prediction of his own, says Adams is going to knock Ben out and make them use Haskins. And we know how well those Ohio State quarterbacks do in the NFL, so that would not be great for them. Garnett West, Marcus Colebrook, Troy H., William Sable, Mark Bellhurt Jr., Craig Zero, and Livin Legging. We have a little light on the number of people that are commenting, but the people that are commenting are having full-blown conversations on their own. They're going nuts, comments. We love it. It's fun out there.
Craig did put a comment. He says, Fred, what are you doing if you get the L? Meaning
Celebrating.
the Chargers do not win this game.
All right, yeah.
We'll do a shot
I'll
on
do
there.
a shot on the air. I'll do a double. A double. Yeah,
Somebody's
make up
going
for
to
that
have to
one.
drive Fred home.
Yeah, take a lot more than double.
Yeah, I
trust
know.
me. All right, Scott, it is time for some shell and tell.
Some
Shell and tell. Unfortunately, I was, I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I was on the golf course, not unfortunately, and I was having a good time on the golf course. I knew what was about to happen in this game, so I figured, you know what? I don't have to watch it live. I can watch it when I get it home. Terps lose pretty big to OSU. But, Ryan, is it such a doom and gloom moment for OSU or for Maryland in this game, or do you think that they actually played decently considering the score in this game?
Yeah, one half is doom and gloom. Our defense is rough right now.
Yeah, secondary is bad.
We have lost so many pieces that defense that was once very promising is no longer promising. We're going to get back a couple pieces this week. We will get back, after the bye week. We luckily have a week to heal.
Right.
So we're going to get back Brendan Jennings, who we thought possibly was a career-ending or at least year-ending injury with what looked like an Achilles, ended up just being a high ankle sprain, I guess, 3-4 weeks off.
Right.
So he should be back. You got Kenny Bennett, who tried to play this OSU game, but it was nothing. Like he couldn't hit people, he couldn't keep up. It was a hamstring injury.
Right.
So 2 weeks will probably do him good and get him back. But we're still, I mean, we were down 4 of our top 5 cornerbacks,
right,
and 2 of our top 3 linebackers. Like you can't do that as a Maryland and think that you're going to play against Ohio State.
Right.
It's just not going to happen.
So going into this game, we had talked about like what our keys to the game were, and for me, it wasn't so much the score. I know you had said, "Hey, beat the spread, and I'd be happy," type of thing. I wasn't even looking at score. I knew Ohio State was going to handle business. Ohio State is an elite level program. They are legit a top 5, top 10 program year in, year out. They're turning 4 and 5 stars over left and right. This is what Ohio State does, right? But it is a measuring stick, and one of the things you can't do going into a football game, especially against a tough team like this, is continue to shoot yourself in the foot. You can't take the stupid penalties. You can't be turning the ball over. In this game, they go from 10 penalties against Iowa down to 2 penalties in this game against the Buckeyes. Talia and the quarterbacks, will say, because, Reese did get 1 in that Iowa game. They went from 7 interceptions down to Talia's 2 in this game. So trending in the right direction, at least from that standpoint.
Yeah, they were definitely trending in the right direction on offense. I honestly was pleased with the offensive production. There were a few moments in there where they could have made this a pretty competitive game, at least in the first half,
right,
that they kind of missed out on. The very first drive, there was a blown coverage on a nice levels play. We talked last year how we loved that play.
Yep.
With the three crossing routes and the 9 route going up the side.
Yep.
Well, the 9 route came wide open, happened to be our 4th string wide receiver because we're already down 2.
Right.
And when he came wide open against OSU in the shoe, I think he got nervous, was like, I don't know what to do. So he throws his hand up that he's open, but in that moment he stops. And then he starts running again because he realized, I'm supposed to run a 9 route, not stand still.
Right.
And so he was overthrown by about 4 feet, which would have been those 2 or 3 steps that he didn't take in that moment. So we lost 4 points there. Then we had them at 3rd and 17 on their first drive with the ball, and we let the ball get caught in front of us and missed a tackle that would have put it at 4th and 4. And they ended up getting the first down there. They ended up scoring a touchdown. So
right,
you take off 7, you add 4, then had to go for it on 4th down because we're already being blown out. They weren't taking the field goal. You had another 3. That's 21-28 if those 3 plays change.
Right.
21-20. I know it's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts. I get that.
Yeah.
But the things changed because of the other problems. Like,
Right.
of course, a missed tackle is a missed tackle, but they were at least played it right.
So offensively, the other question mark that we had going into this game, you lose a guy last week like Dante Demas, your superstar wide receiver. Well, early on in this game, you lose wide receiver number 3 on this team in Ja'Shawn Jones. He goes down with a knee injury, right? We talked about going into this game, a guy like Rock, who's now your number 1. We talked Demas and Rock, 1A, 1B. Well, now he's a solidified number 1. Pretty quiet game this game. He had one big play. Obviously, it was the touchdown, right? But that was it. 1 catch in this game. Are you kind of surprised that he didn't have a lot of production? Is this? Do you think them just kind of honing in on him because he was the major threat?
I think once Ja'Shawn went down, like they were literally able to double rack on almost every play. You watch his tape. Even on the touchdown, he had to split 2 defenders and then beat a safety.
Right.
Like everyone knows where the ball is going at that point. Especially with your other receivers not doing very well. We did see a few bright spots on the back end. We hadn't seen a lot of Marcus Fleming before this game because we had better receivers.
Right.
But now that we're going down, we're starting to see it. And Fleming looked good. He looked a little bit more short-handed. I don't know how he wasn't getting more playing time with because we all know he's got the speed. He's one of the fastest guys on the team.
Right.
And he wasn't dropping things. So that'll be good. I don't think that we're going to be competitive against any of these top 10 squads. We still got 2 more on the book on the schedule, but hopefully these other 3 teams we can squeeze out and still get our bowl game.
So good.
I was just going to say, were you happy to see the fact that they were using Chig a little bit more and using the tight end? Chig led this team in receptions, five receptions for 56 yards. He led the team. It's kind of going down that path. I know you've talked about seeing them use tight ends more. Happy to see that in this game?
Oh, I was very happy to see that in game. He's one of the ones that definitely showed out. He was my
He's an NFL talent.
He was my number 2 choice for offensive player of the game in this, only because I gave him the play of the game last week. I just coin flipped it and gave it to the other guy. That's basically how I played that one because both of them I could see very good arguments for being. I ended up giving the offensive player of the game to Chalen Famatau. He was a walk-on running back turned scholarship running back this year, and today this game he earned his scholarship. He showed out.
So I was going to ask you that because Googs chimed in. He said, "Can we please just try and run the damn ball?" Here's the thing, though. In this game, Maryland ran the ball 36 times to Ohio State's 33 attempts. So we did run the ball. We just didn't run it effectively. I was Tayon Fleet-Davis, very quiet day in this game. They kind of turned away from him a lot in this game. I didn't understand that. Famatau, I guess he had the hot hand and he ran the ball effectively, but it just, again, didn't have a ton of attempts.
Yeah, it was. He ended up with 90 yards between, I think it was like 20 yards receiving and 70 yards rushing, averaged about 8 yards a touch. And so it was a good game. It wasn't mind blowing, but he definitely was the most productive. Tayon Fleet-Davis was having a real hard time between the tackles, and they weren't. Tayon Fleet-Davis to running the outside against most teams matters. Against Ohio State, they're plenty fast enough to be there.
Right.
And it just wasn't working at all. So for some reason, Famatau worked better. I thought Boone actually looked pretty good on his limited attempts. I don't know why most of his attempts were receptions. I think that you got a big boy like that. I'd like to see him being used up in the middle a little bit.
Right.
But he looked pretty good. I do agree. Somebody said earlier, like, can we quit it with a hot hand and find a running back? Running backs by committee don't work. I mean, in the NFL, they're a little bit, but college that's kind of been our thing. Like, we've had running backs for a committee for a long time, and it usually has been pretty productive. I was happy, again. So my 2 complaints against Iowa broke me. I was depressed. I wasn't here last week.
We had to make sure, people were making sure you were still alive after last week.
Iowa ate me because it was us. It was us falling apart. It was the fact that the way Talia looked, I wasn't sure we'd win another game ever. Like, not just we weren't going to win a top-level team. Like, if you're that bad, like, if that's what you can do, then we might never win again.
No,
but this game, we got beat by better players against our players. And that's not going to be true every week. That's Ohio State. Like, we're gonna be a lot closer to the talent level of an Indiana. We're gonna be a lot closer to a talent level of Rutgers. Maybe they even have us by a slight edge, but it's not the Ohio State. And I would love to play Iowa again. I really would. I think that we would lose 8 out of 10 times. I don't think we lose by 14 ever again.
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. It hurt me.
All right. So going into the Iowa game, right, we started looking at where we could find our wins moving forward. We figured that Iowa was going to be a struggle if we were going to play into that game when we got slaughtered.
Yep.
We knew Ohio State we were probably going to lose, and we got slaughtered. Next up, Minnesota. That was one of the games that even after the Iowa game, even after that loss, we talked about Minnesota losing Ibrahim, potentially being a game where we can pick up one, right? Where our goal from day one has been win 6 games, get to a bowl. We need 2 more. Going into Minnesota this week, do you feel confident?
Confidence a stretch after these 2 weeks.
Right.
Confidence a lot. I don't want to be that big a homer that we're going to go in there and roll people. It is a very inviting city. It's very nice. Me and Fred enjoyed it very much so. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more welcoming to the team this time. We felt very welcome, but the players weren't so welcome the last time we
I'm
went up.
surprised
Let me
neither
ask
of you
you this
recognize
way.
the picture that's in the background.
It is the Minnesota trip.
Yeah.
As you say, that's from you guys.
Yeah, that's funny. So my question to you is, though, do you think that it's a similar result to when we went, or do you think
No.
we actually can be in this game and potentially win this game?
I think that Talia is going to keep us in this game. It will depend how much getting Jennings back matters.
Yeah.
I think that getting Jennings back will help an awful lot in the rush defense. I'm not so certain that it's going to matter all that much in the passing defense. But I believe they're out their starting quarterback, too, after last week. And if that's the case, that helps a lot with that passing defense.
Yeah, that helps a lot, for sure.
So with Ibrahim on that team, after I watched him week 1, we would have lost no matter what in this game. Like, that
Yeah.
dude is a
He's a
freaking
freak.
beast. I really hope he heals well and gets back and gets some league, gets some money. Ibrahim, from local kid, and was looking unbelievable. Without him, this has always been circled as one of my W's to get to a bowl.
So let me ask you this, right? So we know the goal is bowl.
We need 2 out of 3.
I'm sure the internal goal is bowl, right? They always want to win more, but I think their realistic goal was bowl, right?
We know personally one of their goals was 9-5, 9-3. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So when you start looking at the schedule, and Googs just kind of laid it out, so appreciate that, Googs. He says Rutgers and Minnesota are probably our best bet. We can
Indiana.
possibly beat Indiana as well. Hopefully this bye week will definitely help us out. Okay, so here's my question. You got 3 games. You got to win 2 of them. You got 3 potential winnable games, right? Michigan State is now a top 10 team.
Yeah, which is mind-blowing. Again, that's one of those teams where, like, I'm not sure they're top 10 yet, but I was wrong against Iowa. They are
Yeah.
top 10.
So
I'll hold my judgment till closer to that, but I'm not counting it as an option yet.
So you got 3 more games that you have to win 2 of to get bowl eligible, right?
So
And
I'd like to win this one. That way we can just feel a little easier.
Right. And bowl eligible, we said going into this year, was a huge measuring stick in the progression of this program, right?
That changes recruiting completely.
It 100% does.
If you scratch and claw your way to 6 wins, you'll be able to make people forget about these 2 losses.
So to follow that up, and the whole reason I'm bringing this up, we talked last week about how long of a leash Leah has, right? You know you got to win 2 out of these 3 games. You go into Minnesota, you get down 14-0 early in this game. Does Loxley pull Leah for Reese to try to save face and win a game? Or do you think they continues to give him that kind of a leash?
I mean, it depends what 14-0 looks like. Because, like, if 14-0 looks looking like Iowa, he's on his 3rd interception, we're down 14-0. Maybe he pulls him, but I doubt it. I think that we've seen that leash is about as long as any quarterback
So
has.
ride or die, Leah is our guy.
That's kind of where I think Loxley's head is. You know, I'm with this Ohio State bounce back. I'm good with it. Like, I'm not angry that that's the case.
Are you calling for it? Screw what Loxley says. If we're down 14-0, I don't care how it happens. We get down 14-0. You get into an instant panic. Fuck. This is one of these 3 games that we have to win. Are you calling for Reese at that point?
No, I don't want to be. I don't want to be that fan base. Me and Ahmed talked in the last show and tell, like, it's ended up working.
But you know the long-term benefits of this. You just said it.
I
The
know.
long-term benefits in recruiting for this program are bowl eligible.
But the long/short term, whatever you want to call it, this year and next year possibilities of what you do to Talia by doing that. We saw what happened when Piggy got replaced. Mm-hmm. Piggy checked out of the program. Period. It was over. Even when somebody got hurt and he became the starting quarterback again, It didn't matter. He was done. He wasn't trying. There was no effort out there. He had written it off. You guys didn't want me then. Why do you want me now?
Okay.
So I get what Loxley's doing. I think that we were awfully frustrated with it the last time, so maybe it will get old. But with Josh Jackson, it was a 3-game in a row. I suck. It wasn't a 1 game we're bad. Like this Iowa game, if we lost the same score, exact same score against Ohio State, and he looked like he did in Iowa, then 14-0, I'm calling for his head.
But because he played better,
because he played honestly great. Like when
2 interceptions.
First of all, only 1 interception. The other interception was complete bullshit. It was a beautiful, perfect pass on an 8-yard slant that went through both hands of the receiver to the defender. So that one's garbage. That one's out. Yes, negative 60 rushing yards, which is the bigger problem. But when you saw what it was, he was sacked because he was trying not to throw interceptions. Like he literally was. He was overrating his escape ability. He, instead of throwing the ball away, which was what he did the first 3 weeks, that was the right move. It was 1 step in the right direction. And I think that's something that he'll see in himself in the tapes on the film room, and he'll get back to throwing that ball away, because that's what he was doing the first 3 games. He was playing, spot on ball. If it's not there, get rid of it. I think he got in his head with Deshaun Jones missing, with Demas missing, thinking, doing that whole Northwestern shit again. I got to win this game.
Yep. Put it on my shoulders.
I can do this. I'm going to be the Lamar Jackson. Well, you're not Lamar Jackson. Right. You're a pretty good quarterback, but you're not Lamar Jackson. You're not the fastest man on the field against pretty much any Big Ten team. Right. You're certainly not the fastest man on the field against Ohio State.
Gotcha.
So I just think that's where those problems came in.
Goog said I'd have to wait more towards the middle of the second to see how he's doing before pulling Talia out. And again, I'm asking this question not as I'm pulling Leah out, because I'm a Talia fan, and I believe in Talia, and I have since he's come into this program. And I know some of the conversations that we've heard and we've been privy to is that Reese in practice has looked like the better thrower and has looked like the better quarterback in practice. That's what we've heard.
And the one time we got to see him in game, actually, he looked awfully damn good.
He looked pretty good, right? So there is that. And I've debated it. I've thought about it hard because, again, like you just said, long-term, recruiting-wise, if we want to turn this program and keep going in the right direction, they've got to find a way to win 2 games. And Minnesota, to me, is one of those games they got to win. Indiana is not a guaranteed win, right? None of these games are a guaranteed win.
Didn't they lose to Rutgers?
Rutgers is a much better football team than they were a couple years ago. They got smoked by Ohio State, but they're a much better team. We just got smoked by Ohio State. A lot of people do.
Greg Schiano got them looking good.
Right. So you've got to win this game. And if you lose this Minnesota game, then you have to win the next 2. You have to.
You don't want to be in that position. You got to win this Minnesota game. Last thing I want to say about Talia's stats that look worse than they are. 20 yards, that negative 60 was on a bad snap, or at least an early snap that Talia wasn't expecting on that 4th and goal when we decided to go for it instead of taking the field goal. The other thing I thought of late, it was not in the moment. But people were calling for Locke's head. Locke knows he's not going anywhere, because a coach that might get fired takes whatever points to make it look good. Right. He was in that moment trying to get his guys to a point where they could win the game, give those guys a confidence level that they can score against these guys, because there was no reason that early to be taking touchdowns unless that was your deal, because it made it look a lot worse getting 0 points instead of 3 there.
Right, I got you. All right. We got the bye week, but I'm holding your feet to the fire because we're not doing Shell and Tell next week on the Birdland show.
Sounds good.
I need a prediction. What do you got going into this Minnesota game? Feet to the fire.
All right. As usual, I have no preparation for this.
That's good. I like it.
Goog said it. They lost to Bowling Green, even with their starting quarterback. It wouldn't be the first time we go against the backup quarterback ends up being better than the starter. So that's always in the back of my head. Going enough deep with this.
Into Minnesota. We know what that environment looks like.
It's a cool stadium. It was pretty loud. It wasn't completely full, which blew my mind.
Stupid chants, though.
Some stupid chants. They don't know who they are. They don't know if they're Gophers. They don't know if they're Vikings.
They don't know if they're skiing. They don't know if they're playing football. I don't know what's happening.
They got some weird shit going on up there. But I think we skinned the Gophers. I think we put up some points, and we let up some points. 31-24.
All right. For me, I'm close. And it's a must win. And I do think Loxley knows that. And I think if they do get behind, we will see Reese in this game. I think he knows what he needs to do for this program.
Please call the Ohio State game. That was a beautifully called game.
Yeah.
Iowa was garbage, Locks. You sucked. You sucked.
Continue the path that you were with Ohio State. That was a good game plan. I agree with that. I think the Terps can win this game because they have to win this game. I got it a very, very close game. I've got the Terps winning this one 27-24 in a very, very close one. So we'll see. All right, Scott, it's time for this week's Liquor Stop Brew of the Week. What did Jerry and the crew hook us up with?
So this week they hooked us up. This is out of Big Truck Farm Brewery out of Harrisburg, PA. This is their Desert Cruiser. It's their lager. It's a little
Pretty
on
cool
the lighter
looking.
side, 4% ABV. Pretty cool looking can there. These guys, they have a bunch of different ones, all looking very similar to this, old trucks. They do actually put stories behind it. So from their website, we sought out to craft this ultimate sportsman lager to be the reward at every campfire story. We partnered with hunter, adventurer, and conservationist Remy Warren to ensure this brew was light and crisp, brewed with Pilsner malt and our farm-grown Cascade hops, embody the spirit of Nevada's high country desert landscape, and they illustrated this can with a nod to Remy's family Land Cruiser. The color, aromatics, and flavor are a true testament to life out west. It's if you like lagers, it's a very it's a hoppy lager.
Yeah, but that was too
Yeah.
many words to say. This shit gets you drunk by it.
Yeah, it's a big truck.
It's 4%. You're not getting
I was
drunk
about to
off
say
it.
it's going to take a lot for you to get drunk. It's only
Yeah.
4% alcohol. It's a mediocre tasting beer to me, and I could get a better flavor with more alcohol content, meaning I can get drunk faster. Meh.
So
it's kind of mad at
It's
me.
not like a Mark Ingram big truck.
No, no. But if you want to try it for yourself, get down to Liquor Stop. Tell Jerry and the crew Birdland BS sent you. Get your 10% off. All right, guys, we're bringing back, because the Orioles season is over, and we had shifted the rundown for a little while.
There is one piece of Orioles news that you need to announce. Your son
He didn't even know
had
about
some
it.
major news that he didn't even know about. He wasn't
No.
invited. He wasn't on that text message chain.
I got kicked off the cell phone plan. I got to get my own phone now and all this stuff. We got family drama. Family things.
So what's going on with your son?
I
What's
don't
the
even
news?
know. I don't even know at this point.
He said he all got in. He asked his longtime girlfriend to marry him this week. So she said yes.
Congrats,
so they are
Seti.
now engaged.
That's
so
awesome.
Congrats to Seti Mall.
That's cool.
Payday coming.
Yeah, but we got some different topics here in the rundown. You know, we're just going to kind of go back and forth. Feel free to chime in, guys, on these different topics as we go through. I
I'll
think
start
the
this
one
off.
Go ahead.
All right, so we're going to start with some of the NFL stories that were going on, and one that I thought was kind of a cool story. I don't know if you guys heard this. We talked a little bit about Derrick Henry earlier in the day. Derrick Henry, I mean, we all know what kind of a beast of an NFL running back he is and what kind of a beast of a college football running back he was. But in high school, he was something else. If you got to go out there and watch his high school tape, it's absolutely absurd. He had the most rushing yards in a single game in the state of Florida, which we all know the state of Florida produces some really, really good football
High in
players.
talent, yeah.
Most rushing yards in a single game with 502, right? Well, last Friday night, Caleb Wagner of Baker High School in Baker, Florida, broke that record. Wagner was born without his left hand and part of his left forearm. So does this as a running back, essentially with one arm, one hand. Didn't let it stop him from rushing for 535 yards and 6 touchdowns over South Walton High School. Remarkably, he did that in just 25 carries. So he averaged 21.4 yards a carry.
Jesus.
He was getting a quarter of the way down the football field every time he touched the fucking ball. Like, the kid is absurd.
Yeah, but he's cheating. He doesn't have an arm to tackle him by.
That's fucked up,
fucked
right?
up, man.
That's real fucked up. But Henry,
Jesus
Henry, everything we've ever heard about Derrick Henry is, though, the person. Like, he's a cool dude,
Yeah.
and everybody said he's a really personable and a likable guy. Reached out to congratulate the kid. They ended up talking on social media back and forth for a while. He's sending him some game use stuff, so kind of a cool moment. But here's the thing. It wasn't an anomaly, right? This kid is a legit running back. The next game, he goes out there and rushes for 426 and 5 touchdowns. So 1,000 yards rushing and 11 touchdowns in 2 games. Now, mind you, I played in my day. I played for some really, really good running backs. I actually went and looked at like the Maryland State record and who holds the records. And there's some guys that I played against that are still in like the top 10. Jake Funk is not on that list. Actually, the number one running back is 446 yards in the state of Maryland. Sam Hess out of Hancock High Schools back in '98. So when I was playing, but I never played against Hancock, 446 yards in a game. So
impressive.
It's incredible. Like, this guy rushed for over 100 more yards than that
That's crazy.
in a game.
Speaking of teams do a lot. We talked about this earlier. The Browns become the first team in NFL history to lose a game after having 40-plus points and 500-plus yards with 0 turnovers, as they lose 47-42.
The Browns will brown.
They will brown it.
They will figure out a way to lose a game even when they throw for 500-plus yards.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Next story. Crazy Annie. I know we were all watching
Oh, my God.
that Green Bay Cincy game with 5 missed field goals at the end of the game.
Boom.
Generally speaking, Mason Crosby is thought of as one of the better kickers in NFL history. Not the best, but one of the better kickers.
Yeah, there was a period like
Holy
5 years ago.
cow.
He had a really rough 3 games, and everyone thought he was done. Then from there on, it was like Tucker-esque. He was at the top.
What happened in this game?
Did you see Mason? He's right here. Mason's right here.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
It explains it all.
I'm waiting.
It was rough, man. I mean, and what's crazy is like every time Cincinnati would fuck up and give the ball back to Green Bay, I'm like, oh, it's Aaron Rodgers. He's just going to march down and score a touchdown. The game's going to be over. And then he'd march down, kick a field goal, and fucking Crosby'd miss. I'm like, how many? 5 missed field goals.
Yeah.
But mind you, Cincinnati's kicker thought they did win the game.
was the
Because he hit
best
the flag.
and it
thing
was
ever.
hysterical. The ball clearly misses the left upright, but hits the top flag that's flying around, and he jumped around
He
like a
thought he
little
was playing
freaking kid.
baseball.
The worst part about it, they're making fun of him. There's 2 other guys right there acting
Yeah.
the same exact way.
I know.
And there's another guy with them like, no.
Yeah,
Absolutely hilarious.
It curved.
But Bengals end up losing that game, and we needed that in the AFC North.
Burrow threw a really bad pick to set up
He did.
the game winner.
He did. All right, next story. This one, I was like kind of
We debated even bringing this
debating
up.
whether I was even going to bring this up, but we got to talk
We're
about
going to
it.
stick to the facts, though, on this. We're going to stick to the facts.
The John Gruden situation. So if you've been hiding under a rock since, I don't know, 2 days ago.
No, since halftime.
2 days ago is
Well,
when
if you watch a Ravens game, you know about it.
Yeah.
So 2 days ago is when the announcement that there were some emails that were questionable about John Gruden that came out. Well, yesterday, Gruden ends up resigning as the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, or the Las Vegas Raiders at this point. It's a touchy subject, right? Because there's a lot of things that are involved in these emails. Right now, they're emails, though, that apparently span over the course of 10 years. So from 2000, when did it start?
2011.
2011 to 2018. This is during the time when he was working as an analyst
For ESPN.
on ESPN for Monday Night Football. Emails going back and forth between him and Bruce Allen, who's the president of the Washington football team. Some homophobic stuff, some transgender stuff, some racial stuff, like
Some women ref stuff.
some cheerleader stuff. I mean, there's all kinds of things.
Yeah, they haven't fully. And to be clear, there's rumors out there saying, oh, they've released it. They've released some of the reports of what is in them. The emails themselves, I have not been able to find that the emails themselves have been released anywhere. You can't go like find them on your own. But there's a lot of
WikiLeaks will
verbiage.
happen.
There's a lot of verbiage that's
to
happening.
that point,
exactly.
right before we went live today, news came out that the NFL Players Association is demanding or petitioning for the NFL to release all of the emails associated in the findings for this investigation.
Yeah, which the investigation, if you don't know, all this is coming about because they were investigating the Washington football team and the harassment charges and things that were going on there. Go ahead, James.
Real quick, during the show, I was reading up. Now, 40 lawyers that, like the women that worked there that brought it up about sexual harassment, they're now coming out saying, hey, whatever happened with Gruden, that's great and all, but you're getting away from that problem. Like, they're using Gruden as a scapegoat and not focusing on what happened, why we're in this mess already. So a lot of them are pushing for it. Let's release all the emails. about other stuff, not just about Gruden.
Well,
Right.
and that's one of the things that the NFL Players Association said in their statement is they're doing this not just for the culture and to find out what was happening there, but also on behalf of those victims, and basically saying, hey, you guys need to do this, and us as an organization don't care what, or us as a group and union don't care what comes out of this. It needs to be released, and we hear it also go a step further before the show with the Bucks getting into the situation.
Yeah, so the Buccaneers are going to end up removing him from the Ring of Honor. Won a Super Bowl there as a head coach. This is the guy. I mean, listen, I think the Raiders are taking the right stance here. They're doing what's right, but this is a guy that will never work in the industry again. Whether that's a coaching spot, whether it's an analyst spot, he's basically pissed away $70 million of the $100 million contract that he signed with the Raiders. Like,
Yeah.
good riddance if he's a bad apple like that. Again, we don't know the evidence of anything. This is all just circumstantial and what we've heard. But
We're reporting what the reports are. And Craig, you bring up a good point, and it's not just you got to watch what you're saying and doing, not just on social media, but everything you do. In this day and age, everything's recorded. So you making sure that you're comfortable with knowing that there might be repercussions for anything that you say. Unfortunately, that's kind of where it stands. But kind of switching over into MLB, I wanted to talk about some of the controversy over this past weekend. Did you guys see the Rays Red Sox game and the situation with the ground rule double?
I did not see this.
Off the body.
Let me set the stage for you on this. What it was Brandon Lowe hits a fly ball to the outfield.
He gets hurt.
It hits off the top of the wall in right field at Fenway, right? So in right field, it's that short, like 3.5, 4 foot wall.
Which is disgusting in and of itself. That
Right.
goddamn stadium has a wall as big as 5 houses, but then out in right field, it's the size of a desk.
Yeah, exactly. And so it hits off the top of that, then bounces off the ground, comes up.
Hit off the top of that fence.
So it
in
hit
right
off the
field,
top of the wall, about 3 or 4 inches below the top of that
and nobody
wall.
touched it.
It hit the padding.
So it hits the padding.
And bounces
It
back.
goes down. It hits the ground on the warning track, comes back, hits Hunter Renfroe, and then goes over the wall.
So ball's out of play.
It's a ground rule double. That's what it's ruled at. Here's the thing. Everybody was freaking out. Look, it's think about like when you're playing baseball. If you throw it out of the stands or you throw it out of play, it's automatic 2 bases from where you're at. So when he hits this ball, I forget who was standing on first base. They had gotten second base at that point.
He was damn near on third base. He was literally 2 strides away from third
almost
base.
on third when it happened. So here's the deal. MLB gets this right in more ways than one. Not only do they get the rule right, but MLB gets it right because crew chief Sam Holbrook apparently asked MLB that he be able to come out in the presser after the game and explain the ruling.
Yeah.
And his ruling was basically the way that the rule is written is if it's unintentionally done, if it just happens to hit off of you and goes, right? It goes out of bounds. It's a ground rule double from the time the ball is hit. Just like a normal ground rule double. It hits the wall and goes over. If it inadvertently hits somebody and goes over after it's touched the ground first and then hits them and goes over, at that point there is a specific rule that states it is a ground rule double from the time the ball comes off the bat. It's different if Renfroe would have almost fielded it and like tapped it over the wall. That's where it would be 2 additional bases. At that point, the run scores. But since it didn't happen that way, it was inadvertent contact that causes the ball to go over after it touched the ground. At that point, it is considered a normal ground rule
That's
double.
going to be a new drill.
Or you
chesting balls over the
Hey,
wall.
But
Yeah, or you could say
so what happens?
Go ahead. Hold on, let James go.
Go ahead.
Or it could have been said Jose Canseco.
That's exactly where I was just getting ready to go. The
That was a
ball
home
off the
run,
top of
though.
the head that
That's
goes over the
different
fence.
because
touched
it
the
doesn't
ground.
hit the ground.
Yeah, but you're saying with Renfroe would like hit off his body whenever it
No,
would be ground.
because it hits the wall, then it hits the ground. The second it makes contact with the ground
can't
in
be a home
play.
run
No, I know that, but the second time you said it when the ball was, if it would have been hit and hit off of him and
No,
went out.
if it would hit the ground and then off
if
the
it
ground.
would have hit the wall, the ground, and then hit off of him, and he like shoves it out, that point Sam Holbrook even said
Okay.
if they thought he intentionally knocked it over,
Yeah.
they could have made the call. At which point it would have been 2 bases on top
Which would
of
have
what
been
they already
inside
had.
the park home run versus a Double.
Almost, yeah, exactly. So it was a lot more. But they get it right in this situation by allowing the crew chief to come out and give an explanation.
Right.
Well, then they fuck it up because it's the MLB.
Yeah.
Right? Because then in the
Kind of
Astros,
their thing.
the Astros-White Sox game, there's an interference call, ground ball to first place, and there's a play at the plate. They're throwing it to the plate. Yasmani Grandal from the White Sox is running up the first baseline. It hits off his elbow and goes, caroms off, and there's no play at the plate. No interference is called. However, when you take the shot that they show from the outfield, looking down the first base line, Yasmani Grandal makes an effort. He starts running to first base, normal, right down the line. He realizes the guy's charging and is going to make the play at the plate. He shifts about 2 feet inside.
He's inside the line?
He's in the grass.
Oh, then 100% that's interference.
They don't make the call.
Wow.
And they don't explain it.
Wow.
They say it's no interference, both runners safe.
Is that reviewable?
Nope. Because it's before first base, so it's umpire's discretion.
Wow. Yeah, they fucked that up.
Yeah.
They're changing that rule next
We
year.
need to eliminate umpires fully.
Yeah, right.
You need somebody to get it right, and I think they did it right with the situation in Boston. The crew chief has to justify it. They should be coming out and explaining why they're not making these rules and identify. The great thing about Sam Holbrook, giving him credit in that situation, he came out and identified the exact rule and read the rule live to the media and said this was the definition of this rule.
Someone
Right.
needs to get fined.
We weren't sure why this rule existed until this play.
Yeah, exactly. So
All right, let's switch. Let's go from one bad sport to another bad sport. Let's go from MLB to boxing, right? Because boxing hasn't been a good sport in a long time. But the one fight that I will say I'll pay for still to this day, and the 3 fights that they've had so far, is the Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder fight. Like, for whatever reason, I like Tyson Fury. I think he's super entertaining.
Because he's big as shit.
Because he looks like an average fucking big dude that
when
can box.
When he's not in fighting shape, he's got a big belly. He's got a big
Tommy
belly.
Magoo.
Fighting shape, he still
He's a
looks pretty
gypsy, man.
flabby for a
Gypsy's
boxer.
right.
I'll have to
Gypsy.
show you the picture of him. Like, I think it was 8 months ago. He looked like he had a baby. Like it was a big belly.
But this was yet another hell of a fight, man.
Yeah.
Down to, I mean, Wilder got knocked down, I think, 3 times in this game?
Yeah, so
In this match?
he got
Damn.
knocked down once in the third. Wilder knocks Fury down
Twice in the fourth.
and twice in the fourth. Then Fury comes back and knocks Wilder down in the 10th, and then finally
Yeah.
finishes him in the 11th with a TKO. Beautiful TKO, by the way.
When fucking Fury lands that punch, man, there is so much power behind it. If he hits you clean, I don't give a shit who you are, how hard your jaw is, all that bullshit, you are getting knocked the fuck out. He has got so much power behind his punch. But it was a super, super entertaining, fun fight.
Great
to
fight.
watch.
It was supposed to go. It was scheduled for 12 rounds. Goes 11. They go really, almost the distance in this. And credit to both fighters because both fighters got knocked down. In this fight. So it was a great fight, very entertaining. I will say I did watch some of the undercard on ESPN Plus. There was a few fights that, again, you're seeing boxing really fuck it up by having these scores. You see one guy dominates for 7 rounds. It was a 10-round fight. He dominated for 7 rounds. The other guy, dominates a little bit more in the last 3 rounds because the other guy's gassed. But they give the win to the guy that won 3 rounds versus the guy that won 7 rounds.
Wow.
It made absolutely no sense. And there were people questioning. Even the fighter was like,
all right.
all right, I'll take the win. I'll take it. Like, he
That's
knew
funny.
he got his ass kicked this other 7 rounds.
No rules. No boundaries. 2 topics. 30 seconds each. It's time for the 2-minute warning.
All right, fellas, it's time for the 2-minute warning. Who's asking the first question? Who do we got?
I got it.
All right, James, you are on the clock, my friend.
All right. Which NBA team do you guys like to win the NBA championship?
Is any team even going to play this year at this point with all the COVID issues? I think we were talking about it a little bit before. You got one team you don't even know if they're going to be able to put anybody out there. If I'm going with anybody, I'll go the Mavs. I like Luka Doncic. I think he's a superstar player. I think they have the ability to make something happen, and this might be the year that it does.
I really like what the Wizards are doing right now, but I'm not going there. They're not going to win an NBA championship.
Threw me off for a second.
No, I think Giannis, man, the kid is playing at another level. To come back from the injury that he did and win that championship was super impressive. I think he can make another run at it. So I got the Bucks coming back and going for another championship.
Back to back, okay.
Yeah, back to back.
So the CBA is heading for an ending in early December. Do you think they get the new CBA in agreement, or do we have another lockout?
I don't want another lockout. I'd like to see baseball, but I don't have high hopes at this point. We've seen too many issues. There were too many issues in the COVID year. We saw the 1 year, negotiation. If anything gets done, it's going to be a 1 year situation because the owners don't want a lockout, so they'll give up for 1, maybe 2 years, and the players want to get paid and be able to do their thing. Unfortunately, I think I see a lockout coming if they can't get something done on the short term.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Like, this is the MLB. If anybody can fuck it up, it's them. But at the end of the day, I don't see them getting a long-term agreement in place prior to the deadline.
Yeah.
I do see them getting a short-term bridge the gap type of deal because nobody wants the lockout.
Nah.
The players can't afford the lockout. No, the owners don't want the lockout. The fans can't come back. Listen, MLB has done everything they can to keep fans away from the stadiums. They got to get guys back in they got to start making money. I can't see a lockout happening.
No, they're going to give up too much.
There's no way. All right, fellas, good show. I got to go to bed, man. I can't even talk straight. I'm tired.
Just skip the lockout till the NBA is over and March Madness is over. Start baseball then. Let us watch the good sports first.
So literally when baseball
That's
starts.
when baseball starts, Ryan. I hate to tell you.
appreciate each and every one of you guys
Bullshit.
hanging in there
That's
with
March.
us through this show. Like I
And
said,
the
I
NBA's
am
in June.
I am running on absolute empty. I am tired, so I appreciate you sticking with me through all my fumbles and everything else.
Oh, it's all good, man. You didn't fumble that really hardly at all. We appreciate you guys tuning in each and every week to the show. As always, you can check us out on our website, www.birdlandbs.com. While you're there, you can check out all the episodes. You can check out the Shell and Tell episodes that they've been doing. I think you guys just put out a new one here recently, right?
We're going to put another one out Thursday.
Putting another one out Thursday.
Friday.
So there you go. Be on the lookout for that. You can also get yourself some Birdland BS gear. I don't have any on today. It's weird. I'm not used to this.
bad juju.
It's bad juju. Make sure you also check us out on Birdland Sports and Big Play as well. You can obviously check us out on all of our social media pages. At Birdland BS is how you find us. At Fred BLBS, at Scott BLBS, at Terps BSpert, at James Bond
2332.
2332 and at Drew27N. Make sure you check us out and give us a like, follow, subscribe while you're there. You can also check us out on Facebook, YouTube, and make sure that while you're there, you set those alerts and subscribe so you know when we're going live. And you know when we go live each Tuesday night. So that means we'll see you next Tuesday night at 7:30 Eastern Standard Time on all those social media pages. For Fred, Ryan, James, Drew, and myself, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
It's time for the after party.
It's last call for alcohol, and this is going to be a short one because Fred's
All right,
tired
well,
of shit.
let me just defend myself then. So, in my mind, all the garbage with baseball starts, number one, pitchers and catchers. That's February 15th. Number two, spring training. Then opening day, if you want to go as far as that, is March 31st, when the NBA is June 19th, and the Final Four isn't until April 9th. So we can back it up a little bit. It is not after all the good sports end that we start playing baseball. February 15th is
how
far
long
too
are
fucking
the
early for
NBA
baseball.
playoffs?
It's a long time.
I was going to say it's like 2 or 3 months. It
It's
feels
way
like
too
at
long.
times. Like the NBA, I think
Yeah, we
Nobody,
need more
nobody,
college
nobody
spring
gives a
games in
shit
our,
about baseball until April 1st.
So April 4th is the NCAA championship, and the NBA finals are on July 6th. Game 7 will be played on June 19th if it happens.
So
I'm sorry.
Real quick though.
None of that made sense.
Other
way,
What you just
July.
said.
around.
I don't
Other
know
way
if
around.
if you saw or heard,
month and a
but
half.
this will be the first time ever that Super Bowl and Olympics are played at the same day.
Really?
Yep. So in the morning you'll wake up and see the opening ceremonies for the Olympics, and then you have the Super Bowl that night because
They're both on NBC.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Garnett said,
money
just
making.
yeah. Garnett says, just to let you guys know, I was lost in the city of Baltimore for over 2 hours with a dead cell phone and made it home. Laugh out loud. That's a win by itself.
That is certainly a win,
That's
sir.
definitely
Way better
a
than
win.
Kyrie Vedvik.
Yeah, right. You should have hit me up, man. I know we said we catch
His
up.
cell phone was dead.
No, not dead. Not dead. He's been in town for a few days. He was with the guy from Ken Cusick from Film Study.
Film
Ravens.
Study.
Yeah. We'll get up together at some point, Garnett,
And
for sure.
David says if we lose the Chargers, blame Scott for not wearing Lamar, or for wearing Lamar and not BS gear.
100%.
Don't blame any of us for choosing the Chargers. Blame me for not wearing BS gear. I
Sounds like
see
a
how
great
this
idea.
is.
Well,
All right.
Scott, you should have picked the Ravens because when they played the Chiefs, you took the Ravens. So.
I did. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in again. Short after hours here. It's
I
been
gotta
a
get home. I got to get to bed.
long day for all of us. So we appreciate you guys. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.